Live. We are live. And we'll throw a banner up there to smash. There we go. Let the banner up. Hello there, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies and germs. Welcome back to the house of Scotty P. Where I need to do some organizing and cleaning up. But short of that, I will just say it's Wednesday, it's hump day, and it is about 6:30 at night here, Central Time. And I don't have a lot, but I thought I'd share a few things. I thought I'd share. So the big share right now is working on ingesting more fat. That's what I'm working on. I was just reading from the Steak and Butter Gang and a few other people, Dr. Bright. I think I've not been getting quite enough fat. So anyway, thought I'd discuss that, share some things, see how you're doing, make sure no one's on the struggle bus. Again, hello everybody. And when we get a few folks in here, if somebody wants to jump in, I'll throw the link up on the screen and you'll be able to join in on the discussion if you choose. You don't have to feel obligated in any way to do that. But outside of that, the other thing I'd like to do is when we get a chance and the people come on in, we'll discuss how things are going for you in regards of perhaps some non-scale victories, scale victories. I just had a young man come over and visit, and he um, had just passed a 50-pound weight loss. Hey, Christy, how you doing? Happy Hump Day. You have a big non-scale victory. Tell me, talk to me, Junior. Matter of fact, what I'll do here, it could make it easier. I can put that right here, bada boom, bada bing, and hit the paste, Daruski. There's a link if you want to jump in. All right, if you want to jump in. Hey, Laura, how you doing? Yeah, hey, dude. My son had a dog. He recently passed away, but his dog's name was Dude. Dude was a great dog, a fantastic animal. Hey, dude. But yeah, so yesterday, a little more struggle bus. Today, not so much of the struggle bus. A good day all in all. We had thunderstorms. I'm sure you had them up there in Nashville too. But we had a bunch of thunderstorms roll through here, and our 70-degree temperature, our early spring is sprung. It's out of here, and now it looks like we're going to enjoy a little bit of cooler fall weather, maybe going into the cold range. I didn't look specifically, but I want to hear about a non-scale victory. I want to hear about it. Talk to me, Maverick. Talk to me about this non-scale victory while I look up at tomorrow. Our high tomorrow, well, actually had snow, freezing precip for us tonight. And then Thursday, our high goes from being 71 today to 54 tomorrow, but our lows stay in the mid 40s. So that'll be pretty nice. Great weather for burning wood, which is my new favorite pastime, I think, other than spending money. And trying to figure out how I'm going to get more good animal fat into my diet. If any one of you have a input on that, by all means, do share. I broke out some fat trimmings I bought from the butcher, but they've been in the freezer for about 6 months. So they have the palate. They're not pleasing to the palate, so to speak. But I went to Walmart today. I go there a couple times a week, I think. I went to Walmart, and they had 73% meat. So it was like, instead of 80-20, it was 73-27, right? Good amount of fat in there, and I really liked it. All right, let me put my glasses on, make sure I get this, and throw it up on the screen. And here we go. Oh, you're jammy. Look like death warmed up. Oh, okay, I get it. Oh, Godsmack at the Ryman last night. Okay, I get it. All right. I have not yet been to Ryman, but I think I've said before, I have some friends who are in the music business in Nashville, and I might have to go up there one time and catch a show. I have been remiss every time I seem to be in Nashville. Stop is because I'm helping my friends who are at Vandy, but now they're away, so I'll have to find a reason to go up to the Nash and figure it out. But yeah, so that 73 27 hamburger I got at Walmart, they had the 4.5 pound pack and it was on sale. And so I bought it and I cooked up some of it and it was good. It was quite good. I have to admit, a lot of fat to drain off, but it's good. California made it sell. Oh, really? Go figure. Go figure. California. One of the things I'm thinking about doing, if I can really lean into this and get it to be a lifestyle thing, I'm thinking about grinding my own, getting a little grinder. Now, my mom had a grinder, and it was a hand one that you clamped it onto the counter, and it worked. It works quite well. I'm gonna look for one of those maybe. I mean, I'm not going to grind a lot of meat for a lot of people, just for myself, pretty much. So I don't know that I need a powerful one or one of those $400 ones with a $200 sausage stuffer. But I think it'd be great to grind, get a couple of. Well, when we buy our cow, I'm going to try to get the butcher to give me almost all of the fat trimmings, like all that good fat, the big chunks. Now, save it for me. And I'm going to try to render a lot of it into tallow. But if I can get that fat, then I can get the 80/20 and then just add a few ounces and grind that into there, something like that. I don't know. We're going to see. Okay. What do you get? You got your CAC scan. Congratulations. And happy birthday. 8 years on the property have affected me. Amen. Now, did you have a CA score from before? Regardless, that's awesome. My CAC score I got about 5 years ago was a 0, so I'm right there with you. I love a 0. Oh, if I have a KitchenAid mixer, yeah, but I don't have a KitchenAid, and those are not cheap either. And if I got a KitchenAid, the only reason I ever thought about buying a KitchenAid was for, making batters and stuff like that. And I'm not making bread during COVID and all that. I made bread at home, and my wife, she was working. She had to go to work. She still worked at the hospital, so she went into work, and I sat at home bored. So I made bread. Silly man. Well, that's your first CAC scan. Well, congratulations. I mean, you've got a great baseline now, right? There's no and, if, or, and but about that. You've got a great baseline, 0, and you know that the proper human diet is not causing any hard plaque. Now, I'm sure you've heard the doctors talk about it, but soft plaque won't show up on that. But from what I've been reading, and just seeing you in your videos, you want a person. You're not a toffee. Is that what they call it? Thin outside, fat inside? And you proved it with that. And you don't have the CAC score to indicate that you've had long-term atherosclerosis. That's a tough word. So good for you. Congratulations. That's really awesome. Now, have you done any unique blood testing? I'm going to get my blood tested in early March. In about 3 weeks, I get my blood tested. And I don't care about my lipid profile. Well, I care about my HDL. My HDL tends to be low, but I'm gonna care about my triglycerides and testosterone and vitamin D, which reminds me, I didn't take my vitamin D today. I'll take it tomorrow. But I'm really trying to get my vitamin D up because my vitamin D was less than 25, I think. And that's no bueno. No bueno. All right. So I have no health insurance anymore, so I'm just going to buy how my. That's right, Laura. That's what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do, right? And I think the clothes thing is probably the most important thing. Oh, I mean, not the most important thing, but it really is something you can latch onto that has a real immediate um, feedback mechanism. And I know when I got all crazy into eating the stuff from Christmas and well, started out at Halloween and then Thanksgiving and then Christmas and the New Year's and yeah, my clothes showed it. They showed it when I was retaining the water and the fat. Now I'm starting to notice. You can see I have little hollows starting to show up. You know, little hollows here. I don't quite have it back here, but you know, the fat on my forehead is not going to be what does me in. You know, it's it's going to be the fat in my gut, and I got to work on that. So working on it. It's a process. You all know how it goes. Um, I had my first IND-25 tested, fasting insulin 3.8. Wow. And do you supplement with vitamin D? That's a phenomenal number. Holy schmolies. Fasting insulin is great, I guess. I'm not as adroit or adept at the fasting insulin, but that your vitamin D at 125, and they're saying that they want you to be at 35 or something like that, 35 to 55. Others say 60. That 120, I know there's a couple folks out there that are really into that 100 plus range, which I would like to get. I think the highest I've ever gotten mine was 63, maybe around 63. But they do say that when you have a lot of adipose tissue, when you have a lot of fat, it's harder for your body, and it might be stored in your fat. So there's that. But that's awesome. Vitamin D of 120. I'm jealous. I'll be honest. I wasn't so jealous about your intimate evening at the Ryman. No, but that I get it. You know what I mean? Um, Again, congratulations. That's amazing. Yep, exactly. My right knee has been giving me grief and some of that, but yep. Oh, you've been taking 10. Okay, I have been taking. I have these little gels, and they're like 2,000 units each. So I was taking 3 to 4 of those a day, and I'll continue to do that. And I think my ID will get up, but it takes a while. It does take a while. I know it has a half life of 7 days. You know, but guys, you just have to do it. Kind of like the day to day. It's the day to day battles that are tough. Those are the struggles. You know, those are definite struggles. And like you said, Laura, you get smacked around with the inflammation, right? And next thing you know, you're going, maybe I've been a little remiss in doing what I'm supposed to be doing, you know. So now that 10,000, you've been taking that D3. Is that 10,000 units a day, or is that 10,000 a week? Which one is it? And are you going to make it to Kip's barbecue feed meetup, Carnivore Kip's meetup? I'm still planning on doing that. I have no reason that I'm not doing it. Yeah, the only thing that could really get in the way, obviously, other than being illness would be, or illness in my family. I think that's the only thing that keep me down in case I have to go see my dad or something like that. But yeah, so you started taking D3. Okay, I got per day. Okay. Yeah, when my wife takes the vitamin D, her joints really start hurting really bad. And she just recently had a DEXA scan, and the DEXA scan didn't point out any significant worries. It said, "Hey, we're going to watch something," but no worries, no flags, no red flags. So I was worried when that happened. If it was a situation of the body was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and now the vitamin D showed up and it's trying to redo something that's causing pain in that remodeling. But I don't know. I don't know anything. But that's great. I'm glad. Now, do you still take the K2, or are you not taking the K2? Somebody said the other day I was I can't imagine. I can't remember where we were, and we mentioned about K2, and they, oh no, don't take the K2 to make your blood too thick. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's always something cray going on with don't do this, don't do that, do to this, do to that. I think we need to like kind of stop things, and and just find a protocol that works for us individually. All right, now. Oh, do you know you can get decent impotent? Oh yeah, I guess I can. Yeah, I didn't know that. How, Laura, are you at all involved with the VA? I know the VA is one thing, TRICARE is another thing. I know my wife gets vitamin D through TRICARE, but I didn't think about the other stuff there. I didn't. Hmm. Oh, you take the D3 K2 combo? I get it. Because you don't want to eat natto. Have you ever read that natto, that fermented soybean? I couldn't for the life of me, knowing what soybeans are. And that natto is the highest concentration of that K2 and all that. I was like, I don't know. I'm not going to do it. No. Taking both, not sure about Kip's. Oh, yeah. Okay. You're not sure, but you've heard about Kip's event, right? Please tell me you've heard about Kip's event. It's the weekend after Easter. So I'm going to say that first weekend of April, right? So gotta make sure I know what's going on here. Okay, that's good. Oh, all right. Got another trip I'm going on. I just found out about that. Yeah, Kip's event. Yeah, he's gonna do that meetup. It's gonna be down there in Atmore, Alabama, which is like just north of the Florida line, an hour from the coastline, and he's offering to feed everybody who shows up. Yep. Big man from Alaska is on board. Hello, buddy. How's it going? Is there a way to be invited and stream my channel as well? Sure. There it is. Oh, there's a link. Okay, up in the air. Okay. I get it. I get it. What can I say? Not everybody can be everywhere for everybody at every time. And for me, that's going to be a solid 4-hour drive. Might be a 4.5-hour drive. I'm not sure. I mean, go look it up on the googly googlies, You know how the old googly works. Let's go here at more Alabama. Atmore, Alabama. Can I go maps, please? There we go. And if I go directions, I can say from my location. Okay, okay. So we'll go from Meridian. It says, 4.5 hours. 317 miles from my place, roughly, to his. So that'd be quite the drive. Okay. Let's see. Let me catch up. I got crazy. You heard about it. Okay. Yeah, take your time, brother. Take your time. I just decided to jump on this evening. Things have been helter-skelterish. When the missus, she was busy, not busy, but she helped somebody. She stayed up with somebody all night at the local hospital to provide comfort. And based on that, her day had been totally discombobulated, she's not a night owl by trade. And okay. And yep, all right. Okay. Remember that. It's amazing what you can do with technology going everywhere, huh? But like I said, it's Wednesday. I'm doing better for the fat. What I did today for fat, I did my eggs with the butter. I'm getting in about a full stick of butter, but as I was reading and doing more research, look into it, I really got to diversify my fats. I do happen to like sardines. So the other day I had sardines. Today I have full eggs, and then a 73-27 of, of beef, and what else? And then I had some meat trimming or fat trimmings. Just a little bit of fat trimmings. Yeah, I'm just trying to find ways to get my fat. I don't think I was eating enough fat, and I didn't have any. I didn't have any gastric issues yet. So we'll see. Your parent had TRICARE for life. My father was. Yep. I looked. I took them all. And okay. Yeah. Express Scripts home delivery. Yep. Yeah. I got it, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of them. As you know, I'm working on that with my sister to get her set up in that venue, and it's a process, but it'd be good. And boy, we've been dealing with it too, because I think one of the hard things is my father has always prided himself, his pride, I guess, I don't know, but his thing was how. Um, how flexible and rapid and strong his mind and his memory has been. And I did try to get him to ingest some more medium chain triglycerides on a daily basis. I don't know that happened. And he's 89, right? But he has been having some challenges with his prefrontal cortex memory and filters. My sister is working on getting him into a carnivore diet. She has actually been watching Dr. Barry, and so that's really good. And my sister's like oodles more academically capable than I am, and I'm not a slouch. She's an electrical engineer, a nuclear engineer, all that good stuff. So she's literally like a rocket scientist. With nuclear stuff and nuclear power generation and physics and all that. She used to work on nuclear subs and things like that. So she's quite capable. So if she's learning something, she's learning all of it, and she's going to really try to help my dad get onto a more of a medium, moderate protein, higher fat diet to help him as he ages. But yeah, so that was good news and sweet to hear. But hope it's not been. Well, I'll just go and say it'd be good, but been preoccupied with his health too for a while, and we're very fortunate that he is not only a military retiree, but the VA is helping with him too. So him living 1,400 miles away makes it tough just to run down the street. But I went there last year and helped out a bit, and I'll probably go sometime this year and help out a bit more where I can and how I can. But until then, we'll just see. But anyway, so this is big regular Wednesday. Welcome to retirement. That's what I've been getting. My welcome to retirement. If you caught yesterday, I did find a way to get to the local rock hobby, rock hound, gem club and work with their tools. And I see we got Big John in here. Hang on, let me bring Big John into the picture. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend. I don't have any here. No ears. Are you muted? It looks like your button's muted. I don't think. I mean, hang on. Do I have? Wait. Unmute.
All right. Let me try something else.
Hey, you got it. You're in. You're in. You're in.
I am. You got
You're
volume?
In. I got volume.
It corrected itself. I was worried about that because when I plug in my microphone, it doesn't give me your audio. So It's weird. I don't know why that is. And even when I'm making videos, I have to unplug my mic in order to hear what's going on in my videos. So it's kind of frustrating. And I'm just trying to figure out this whole live stream routine, especially when being invited on other channels here.
What mic
So,
are you using?
I'm sorry?
What mic are you using?
I'm using the Rode mic. It's just a shotgun mic like that. It works really well. It's just the way it interfaces with the computer. It doesn't want to allow me to hear anything through the external speakers.
Does it have a little jack hole on the side or the back?
It does, but I don't think I have a way to. Yeah, I might be able to do it that way. That could be an option for later on. But you got good audio right now. You can understand me. Okay, it's not good.
Well,
okay.
Go ahead.
I have a couple issues that I've been dealing with lately. As you guys know, a lot of you know, and if you don't know me, I'm Big John from Alaska. I'm an Alaskan truck driver. I've been on a weight loss journey of my own, which I started at 435 pounds, and I'm currently down to like right around 320, 300-ish range, and I'm still working my way down, but I'm doing this with the process of fasting and carnivore eating principles. So the situation I'm dealing with right now, Scotty, is that I'm going through an issue with my CPAP devices and stuff like that. It's been a struggle. Everything about CPAP in my life has been an absolute upside down nightmare. And I don't think these hospitals really take into consideration the severity of sleep apnea, especially when it comes to truck drivers like myself, or even airline pilots for that matter. So I just called to get a follow-up sleep study done today. And that sleep study went kind of sideways because all of a sudden I needed a referral, which takes time. It took about an hour and a half. It finally went through, but now I have to go in and see a doctor just to get a check to say that I'm okay to get a sleep study, which is just so counterintuitive, especially with my busy lifestyle. And I have to, whenever it snows up here, I have to work. So if we get a couple inches of snow, I'm at work. I'm unavailable for a sleep study. So this is horribly frustrating. And it's kind of like a break in the chain of doctor-patient relationships. And I understand why these sleep clinics get a lot of heat, because they're just constantly bombarded with angry people like me. And I'm in a lot better mood right now since I lost the weight. I'm a lot less hormonal, because when I was morbidly obese and I was going through this process, I mean, I would be angry. I'd be sitting here yelling and screaming and jumping up and down and just almost wanting to throw my phone against the wall, because it's just so incredibly frustrating. Let's see if that's a little better, but I'm just having a hard time with it all as usual. It just seems like no matter what I do in a timely manner, it's just like we have to spend extra money on these needless appointments. And that's all it is. It's just needless appointments, one after the other after the other. And that's just to get to the root cause of what's going on. And sleep apnea can potentially kill people if it's not taken care of. Now, that's what I was faced with in the very beginning. Is I had severe sleep apnea. I had a monstrosity of a neck. I couldn't breathe. I understood the problem, but it took about a year to figure out what the problem was, because my sleep apnea was so bad. It was throwing off all kinds of random signals. I had constant urination. So every 45 minutes when I was trying to sleep, I was waking up and having to urinate approximately a gallon of liquid per time. And then after that, my anxiety went through the roof. I was wide awake. I had insomnia. So in between these 45-hour naps I was taking, I was actually up for almost a half an hour, 45 minutes, sitting at the coffee table, playing on my phone, just trying to, bide the time. And sometimes I would actually meditate and sleep, like just sitting up. And there's a lot of people out here right now. They're suffering from the same issues that I am. And it's horribly frustrating for them too. I know the struggles. It's so hard. And I've been planning on making a full-length video about my sleep apnea experience, my fights, my struggles, and stuff like that. And that video is going to take a lot of time to get together and produce and try to figure out. And that's really hard with a regular work schedule. And I apologize, Scotty, go ahead. I mean, I chatter on. I will go on for an hour and a half and not be quiet. I've done this randomly on my live streams, and it just keeps going and going and going. And I love the live streams because of that. Go ahead.
That's the whole idea here. Like I said, to give a forum for us to discuss and to learn from it. So I had a couple of succinct, I hope, question to ask you on your sleep apnea machine itself. All right. Now, They may not, you probably know this, but just because it's the guy I am, I'm a proffer. I had a sleep apnea machine for my sleep apnea, and I have a mixed. Mine was not just obstructive sleep apnea, but it was central sleep apnea. My brain forgets to breathe, and that's a little more problematic. I can't lose enough weight for my brain to do its function. That's not, no. I think maybe they're wrong in that. Maybe when my health is good for a long period of time, and my not just my weight health, but my hormonal health, right? And along with ketones stuff, the brain may heal itself a bit, but or maybe the thorn in the side will be removed. But all that aside, I was really having a frustrating time because of I use the over the nose one, and not the pillows. And so what happens is I finally learned to sleep with it and to hug the hose and all the things I needed to learn because I move a lot. But it would open up and I would end up having all the air forced out of my mouth and to be like drier than a Sahara, because the air going out. So I got to thinking about it. I said, well, maybe what I need is a BiPAP. So I went ahead and have you heard of BiPAPs?
Yes, absolutely. That was one of the first machines I actually bought. It was one of the gray Philips Respironic box looking things, like a Series 50 or 60 series Philips device. Absolute nonsense, in my opinion, because it didn't, when you have all these central apneas, because the BiPAP gives you a specific level for your low, and then it gives you another specific level for your high range of breathing. So it reduces the pressure when you exhale, and then it increases the pressure when you inhale. Well, that creates a cadence. Now, with hypopneas and central apneas, the problem that I was suffering from was my breathing would trip over the cycle, and then the cycle would get confused. And since those machines were so primitive compared to what we have available now with these new APAP devices, which automatically adjust the pressure, and even a Philips Respironics APAP is not sufficient for the majority of people that are suffering from a situation where the brain is just not firing and telling you to breathe, because my apnea was so severe and I had it for so long that I would be at work driving a truck. And granted, I'm in the yard in this particular scenario. I'm just driving around a postal yard and just moving trailers around. But I would have times where I would just stop breathing. And then the heart palpitations came in on top of that. And then you're wondering, am I having a heart attack? Oh my goodness, I'm suffering from something and I don't know what it is. It's crazy. So, okay.
All right.
Yes.
Now,
go ahead.
Okay. So that answers a lot of questions. I don't even need to go further on because I actually went in and found a way to reprogram my own. You can actually reprogram them and you can change the pressures and all that stuff. So, but I got beyond that. I want to move beyond that. Have you listened to Dr. Bright?
Dr. Bright, no. There was a lot of problems going on when I started sleep apnea, especially with Philips Respironics being at the spotlight of everything and their enormous recall. And I was tied up with
the class action lawsuit I'm a part of, but I could care less.
Yeah, that you might as well just. You're never going to get compensated. These machines at the time were costing us close to $2,000, and they want to give us maybe $50 to $100 reimbursement, which is absolute nonsense for $1 billion company that potentially sold us machines. And a lot of us paid cash for these machines. Like me, I have to pay cash. I don't have insurance providers covering any of this. The only thing my insurance covers is just the sleep study itself, and then they might donate me some masks. Brand new masks as the sample products, and that's what I have, and I use a lot of sample masks. And so every time you go in for a sleep study, and the mask and the hose you use, that is supposed to go home with the patient. That they're not supposed to reuse those supplies. You might as well take advantage of that situation, especially if you're having a hard time financially. Is bring that supplies home, put them in a plastic bag, and leave them for a rainy day, because sometimes your insurance providers might not provide you what you need as far as your CPAP needs. But I was able to reprogram the brain. I had to train myself, like physically be conscious and train myself to breathe again. And it took a process of about 6 months, Scotty. It was really difficult to retrain the brain. And it took some took a lot of practice, and eventually it got better. I can breathe now. I don't have those wide awake instances where I stop breathing randomly. So it's been a blessing and a curse all at the same time. But I think I'm to the point now where I don't need the CPAP at all. And carnivore helped me get there, because with carnivore, we lose the inches. And I'm trying to stay on your topics here of carnivore type stuff, because this is all intertwined in this incredible weight loss journey and this journey to better health. And I'll pass it back over to you.
Well, yeah, by all means. By the way, I want to say hello to Bill. Bill is here now. We got the Alaskan assassins on board here.
Right on.
John and Bill. And hey, Bill, I just threw up my link. If you want to join us, Bill, feel free. I was going to say though, John, with regards to what you're talking about a lot with the brain and things that are going on here. One of the things I was wondering about is with Dr. Bright. It's Dr. Elizabeth Bright. If you look her up on your old Google machine, she is very a vocal proponent for ensuring that you're getting enough dietary fats. And so she's like 1 or 200 grams of fat a day for a woman, you know. So that's the whole idea being is, and then I was listening to a gentleman who talked about, I wish I had remembered his YouTube page. I know I've in my history, but I watch YouTube like it's my job. But he actually had lost like 60 pounds doing carnivore, but he realized he was fighting an uphill battle, and he realized he was able to attribute it to an unhealthy hormonal situation, an unhealthy thyroid, because men get unhealthy thyroids. And so he ate fat like a banshee, like it was going out of style, like it was his job. And he actually gained the 60 pounds plus another 20, 25 pounds of fat. And until he knew his body had healed, right? So it was like a 18-month journey. And then once his body had come to some sense, because he was measuring TH3 or whatever, the thyroid hormones and stuff, of course, testosterone and everything. And when he got it all tested, when he got all back in, he went back onto a more pure form carnivore, ketovore, and it came off quickly, and he was much better off. So what I'm saying is I suspect for us, for guys and large fellows, and when we get out of whack, I mean, our bodies can only take so much abuse, right? From the years of overweight and stress and whatever else leads us into that condition. Untying that knot doesn't happen overnight, like it doesn't for women, and it takes a while. And then once it gets untied, like you did with your, retraining your brain for your breathing processes, really, really important that we continue to do the things that get us to health. And once we get to health, I like to think of now when you throw a ball and it goes all the way to the highest part of its arc and arced up way high, and it kind of pauses and then starts back down again. I think we forget that when we get to a goal or something, we get up there, that we are maintaining, and then we can come on that downhill. And it takes a long time. It just takes a tremendous amount of time.
Absolutely. I do want to wave my hand to Bill Knott. I appreciate you, Bill. You are an inspiration to me, by the way. If you didn't know that, I do follow your journey, as you know. And me and Bill have been talking back and forth on the side a little bit, trying to, figure out our own stuff. But okay, now the problem I faced when I first entered into the CPAP world was I was morbidly obese. I was 435 pounds. I was incredibly hormonal. I did not understand anything logical like you're talking now, Scotty. For what you're saying is from a logical perspective, but when you're morbidly obese, you don't get it. You just don't.
Right.
You can tell me 1,000 times, I will look at you like you are crazy, or I'm just not interested. And if I'm not, even with my weight issues, if I am not receptive to the message coming across, and this is the bridge that I've been trying to gap between morbidly obese people and people that are actually on the journey trying to share their experience. I'm trying to bridge that gap between that hormonal imbalance and trying to maybe open some doors to allow people some avenues and some places to discuss these things, like these live streams here. These are my tool. These are extremely helpful. Not only that, it gets me out in the public eye, and we can talk back and forth and maybe bounce some ideas back and forth, because I don't know everything. And I need this entire community that's wrapped around carnivore, CPAP related medical issues and stuff like that for advice on a lot of different things. And I've used all of the information, even in the comments, to either come up with ideas for what I'm going to do next,
Right.
maybe food, eating strategies, or what to avoid, because a lot of my audience likes to, say, hey, well, try to, take this out or add this in, or, just try something different. Maybe you need to just shock the system at times to trigger more weight loss. But overall, since I've been doing carnivore, the inches come off. So when the inches come off the neck, we can naturally breathe easier at night, because
that helped me a lot too.
Yeah, we tend to sleep with these pillows. And a lot of times we make the wrong decision when purchasing a pillow. We buy a pillow that's this huge fluffy thing, super soft, comfortable, and it kinks our neck. And we're sleeping like this. So it automatically, even if you're a healthy person, you're cutting off the circulation to your airway. So I purchased shallower pillows. They're only about this thick. That way my head can just lay back. My airway is open. And I could never sleep on my back before I started using a CPAP. Even when I was healthy, I had a hard time sleeping on my back because I was purchasing the wrong pillow, and which seems so ridiculous, but it is. I mean, we just go out, we get fancy down pillows full of feathers, and then we try out all kinds of different stuff. And when I was morbidly obese, my head was my head was a melon. It was swollen. And I do have some images of that. It's just, there's so much swelling going on inside the brain. We don't understand things, but it was so heavy, it was destroying pillows within like a month. So I was purchasing a new pillow every month at times. It's just incredible how fast things can change if we just start eating properly.
Right.
Now,
what are you doing for outside of work? What are you doing for physical activity?
That's an issue. That's been an issue right now in Alaska. It's cold and it's icy.
Wow.
I'm still getting my legs and my feet back in order so I can actually do some more walking, because when I first started this weight loss journey, I lost the first 100 pounds within 15 weeks. Now it will be magical, but there's some things that come along with losing weight that fast is your body can't adjust to it as quickly as you're taking it off. I went through, it seems like, months of realignment issues. Like sometimes my hips weren't quite aligning with my legs, and my feet weren't working like they should, because they were used to, 435 pounds pushing down on them at all times. So I suffered from severe plantar fasciitis, which is the tendons under the foot.
Oh, it is. Yep.
It felt like I was standing on glass. Taking a shower was nearly impossible because you're barefoot on the hard floor. Walking on this hardwood floor in this trailer home was almost just, nope, that wouldn't happen. I had to have slippers or some sort of footwear, and I had to be very particular about what I wore. So it was just nuts. I mean,
I used to give people, when I was in the military, I give people who said they had plantar fasciitis. I used to give them the yeah, right, and then I got it, and I said, oh my. But well, Bill just had to leave, and I appreciate you being here, Bill. But one of the things that Bill put out, I know about a year ago, I put out a video that talked about the lymphatic system. I'm a big proponent of the lymphatic system. I don't know where you're at on the lymphatic system, but Bill was, he had that medical issue, a lot of pain, and they're trying to do the diagnostics on things. And he finally landed on a vibration plate that helps his lymphatic drainage. And I don't know if you've watched that or have a understanding of that.
We discussed that yesterday when we were interacting back and forth with your live stream yesterday. I got a lot of knowledge from that, and I appreciate that. That's stuff that I really don't know about, because I'm a truck driver, guys. I'm just the average guy trying to figure this out like everybody else. And sometimes we need to rely on, I got to lean my head on some people's shoulders at times just to.
Hey, I have
figure things out.
I only have 2 books on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
One of my books is the book of knowledge of what I know, and the other book is my book of ignorance. And I got to be honest with you, my book of ignorance is a lot bigger than my book of knowledge, but that's okay. We can adjust fire. Hey, Laura, we got Big John here, and Big Man Alaska, and he's sharing with us. Have you been listening for a while here? Bill Knott was in for a minute, but no, Daisy needed some scratches, and John is sharing with me these challenges, not just the challenges of that he started with, but even the challenges of rapid weight loss, challenges of sleep apnea, and we're just going through things. I remember we did talk about that at length yesterday on the lymphatic system, but while Bill was still here, and that, since you've talked to him, that kind of makes that move along. But it was really important. I thought that vibration plate I got from my dad, $77, and it should show up. It should show up on. It should show up on Friday, and hopefully that will help him with his lymphatic circulation. And I was thinking about that also with you because I was talking to someone at church this past weekend. His wife has been suffering from migraines and stuff for a long time, and I brought that up to him. And this guy is a man of some significant financial means, right? And he's taken his wife all over the country to doctors to get it looked at. She's going to do a week and a half in Chicago inpatient for figuring out what's going on. And I said, well, have they talked to you about lymphatic drainage? And no one's ever even mentioned it to him, right? Because I don't think doctors are purposeful or in their intentionally snubbing the topic. But as we've learned over the past couple of years through the virus that shall not be named, that the medical profession is held hostage by the legal system and by their financial gain. And I think Dr. Barry has been very open about that, along with Dr. Chafee and all the other doctors involved, medical doctors involved in that.
So one of the struggles I had, especially when I was being diagnosed with sleep apnea, and I was starting to reach out to a lot of YouTube creators that were talking about sleep apnea. They have a lot of, like Lefty Lanky. Me and him didn't get along because he's a U.S. doctor and he is bound by a lot of things. Now, I had to reach outside of the U.S. To a gentleman called Nick at CPAP Reviews, and he was where I got 99% of my good information, and he really worked hard to help me out through everything I was going through. It was amazing, right from the very basics of setting up the machine to adjusting the machine as needed, figuring out humidity, different mask types, and different uses. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, if you can figure out how to breathe through your nose while sleeping, that's going to be the best therapeutic type sleep you can ever get. Plus, it's also opening up that airway so you can actually breathe easier while you're using the device and getting your therapy. And it is therapy. Now, I don't know how many of my friends that have passed away from being obese, and a lot of it was because of their unhealthy eating, but a lot of them passed away early because they had undiagnosed sleep apnea. The same thing goes with a lot of these famous Hollywood actors. All the overweight Hollywood actors that passed away. Well, some of them passed away because of drugs, but the drugs put them in a situation where they couldn't wake up from their sleep apnea. And that's how they unfortunately left this planet a little too soon.
Have you ever heard of mouth taping?
Yes, I've tried mouth taping. Now, another side effect of sleep apnea that I experienced was claustrophobia and panic attacks, especially early on when I had my AHI was approximately 96 when I first got diagnosed, and they go up and down. AHIs don't stay the same, from one day to the next. They change from many outside sources, like what you eat, for instance, the amount of stress you're under. So when you go get medically seen and diagnosed, that number could be high one day and it could be extremely low the next. So it's just a matter of how you're feeling when you're getting the sleep study done. So just keep that in mind, that everything is ever evolving. Blood pressure is the same way. My doctor showed me a couple different ways of how to take your blood pressure, because he can, if he wants to, he can deliberately elevate it by just saying something political. And then all of a sudden sorry, you're not getting your DOT card because I don't like you. And we just talked about, the US president or something silly, like something that gets people ramped up.
Well,
And,
I think remember how you said you did a training with your brain for breathing?
right.
I think that all of us, now I'm going to put a generalized term out there, but I think the design of social media is such through game theory to get to elicit a dopamine response, right? And so therein lies the goodness and the badness of it, in that your triggers are like hairs. I mean, we're made to be on a hair trigger. I think the idea of when there used to be thoughtful, considerate conversation, people could finish a sentence, they could finish a whole idea, and the audience wasn't sitting there looking for a rebuttal, but internalizing and thinking about what was said, and then a rebuttal period would be provided. And when everything was, I was thinking about the other day when I thought about the days when people wrote letters, like in the 1800s and early 1900s, right? Let's say the 1700s, 1800s. Writing a letter was iterative. It took a long time to formulate your thoughts. Now, who was going to write a letter? Probably a more educated person at that time. Who's going to have the paper, the pens, and they worked on their penmanship. So when you got a letter, it was precious. And if you could read it, you were privileged, right? But this whole idea is there was more time and consideration given to people's thoughts and ideas, right? Nowadays, it's like I've got my phone here. I've got 5 windows open up on my computer, all these things going on. So I cannot possibly devote attention to what's being said. And then I'm thinking about my rebuttal. So I'm not even really thinking so much what you're saying. And that, what drives up your blood pressure. But that whole lifestyle, we are needing to reconfigure and work out how we're going to go about life. Am I going to surrender my, what did my wife said? Give free rent to people in our heads? Are we going to surrender our happiness or our joy to what everybody says? Because either on Fox, MSNBC, Breitbart, or CNN, whatever it is your trigger, right? And it's on both sides of the political aisle. It's on the religious, non-religious. It's in so many factors of our lives. It's amazing that we aren't all just pulling our hair out of our heads, those who have it to pull out.
Yeah, I kind of use my held for review comments to kind of gauge, my content, because those are the comments that are just kept away from the regular audience, and I have to approve them. But at times I notice I don't get any at all, and that just means I'm maybe not being controversial enough to poke some heads and get some people stirred up in there, because a good argument is always great for pushing everything through the algorithm. But as you said, as far as dopamine responses, absolutely. Facebook, MySpace, and stuff like that. Now, when we make a post, it makes us feel good when all of our members are hitting the like button, and it makes us feel better when people are sharing our stuff. And that's no different here on YouTube. If I have one video that hits 27,000 views, which is rare, I feel great. But then if I can't follow up, and I get a bunch of subscribers and I can't follow up with content, discussion topics, you're literally stabbing yourself in the heart. You know what I'm talking about, because you have to stay on topic and follow up, with what your audience or anybody that's following you needs to know. That was my wife just walking by there. They just got home. So, all right. Well, Scotty waves hi.
I suspect for myself, I can talk about myself best. I'm pretty good about that. I have to be very, very careful to understand what I'm trying to get from what I'm doing, right?
I got the hospital calling right now, so I'm going to put myself on mute for a little bit.
You do that. but yeah, going back to what we were talking about there in general is I have to be very astute and paying attention that I make sure that I've got my priorities in the right place because if I'm not careful, I can end up. I'm going to go ahead and see. Can we do it like this? Hang on. There we go. I'll bring John back in a minute. But I have to be careful that I'm doing things for the right purposes. Otherwise I can end up in a really, really bad place, looking for affirmation from something that is not going to be able to affirm me. So look up Boeing. It's pricey, but the testimonials of phenomenal causes muscle contractions that is a full workout while seated. You even got a woman with MS walking. Okay. Bionic Gym. Okay, Bionic Gym. All right. I was like, boinky. Bionic Gym. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. But yeah, I think that's one of, and what John was saying to us is that, that algorithm thing with YouTube or if it's Facebook or any social media, I think one of our big challenges is the idea that what is our driver? So like for me, I'm not doing this to get monetized. I'm doing this to be a avenue of how do you say that? An avenue for bring John back in. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. But for me, it's an avenue. All this social media is an avenue for accountability. So when I start looking for the likes and the follows and the comments, right? Chasing likes and comments is a full-time job, and I'm not going to do this. I'm not in a job. I need it for accountability. So if I keep coming back and people say, "Hey, Scott, your head still looks as big as it was when you started," and we're not seeing any changes or whatever, I have to make sure that that's the feedback I'm looking for, not that I have, like right now, I'm doing this live stream, like last night's live stream. I don't know what the number count truly is, but I'm showing one, right? But I'm not doing it to be in competition with all the other carnivore channels for people's time. I'm doing it for my accountability, my ability to express, and the opportunity to talk to people like yourself, John.
So, Scotty, all right, one thing I do want to reiterate is that we are not in competition with other channels. We are only in competition with ourselves as content creators and people who are sharing our experiences. So just keep that in mind, Scotty, as you move forward, because your job out here is to share your experience on what you're doing, how you're getting there, how it makes you feel, your emotions about it, because there's a ton of emotions wrapped up in this journey, either, whether it's CPAP related or just like that phone call, which really frustrated me because it's just more political nonsense. And they're being helpful, but it's just steps that don't need to be made. As far as getting an appointment to get a sleep study done, I should be able to just slide right in, get a sleep study because we've been down this road. The only thing that's changed is my health has improved dramatically with weight loss. It's improved dramatically with the carnivore diet, a ketosis type diet. I do add in additional fasting throughout the week. Like yesterday, for instance, I had 2 cans of sardines. I probably should have had 2 cans of sardines before this live stream because it makes me just super chatty. If you think I'm chatty now, just imagine that. And before I started carnivore or before I started losing weight, I couldn't get on camera. I was embarrassed to get on camera, even though I was attempting to do YouTube videos at the time with shopping trips. And it would take me about an hour and a half just to put together one sentence that just sounded coherent or made any sense whatsoever without a bunch of ums and ahs. So if I was doing voiceover content, I mean, a 15-minute video could take me upwards of 18 hours just to do the voice audio for a video. That's insane amount of time. And now with carnivore and losing all the weight, I'm able to string stuff together. I can just do the voiceover, run it through. I might go through and edit out a couple ums and ahs, and that's it. And this is wonderful stuff. And this is what I'm out here trying to share with other people that might potentially want to either get into content creation or better their personal lives, be able to communicate with family, friends, business partners, and stuff like that, because we're all we're all in the same battle. We're all just trying to get through this life, help other people out, and possibly make a little money in the process. And the money, like you say, that's just whatever. I mean, they can buy a couple of cups of coffee every week, and that's pretty much about it. And that's just what I'm getting from ad revenue from what I have going on my channel. So I need to branch out if I do want to make money with affiliate links and stuff like that. And really, it's not as important as reaching through the screen and hopefully connecting with somebody that's suffering like I was, and being able to connect with them and get a hold of that person and shake them a little bit and hopefully get their weight loss journey started. Now, since I started this, I've been told over and over again, that I'm an inspiration, which is just really, I never really thought of myself as an inspiration for sharing an experience. And at times it's overwhelming and it makes me cry. It makes me upset at times, not in a bad way, but in a happy way, because I'm like, wow, I had this talk with my wife early on in the journey. I was like, because I didn't know what I was doing. I went from making Walmart shopping, prepping type shortage videos, and I ran out of oomph for doing that because I was so fat. So I started like, all right, I went heads over heels into hopefully improving my health and losing weight. So I just wanted to share my experience with anybody that would watch it. I didn't care who watched it. I was doing the videos mainly for my own accountability. Like you do these live streams, you're just trying to stay on point. You want to stay on task. And that's really what it's all about. But then all of a sudden people were like, wow, I started my own weight loss journey because of, something I watched. And then I hear some viewers saying like, whoa, we've been following you since way before you even started losing weight, because they like the shopping content. They also like the random videos at times that we put up for just whatever happens here in Alaska. But in order to get a channel to move, we have to stay laser focused for a long period of time on one particular topic. And we had to switch over to my weight loss, health. And since people were interested, I was like, well, maybe I should start researching. Maybe I should start learning more about my own health and figuring out. That way I can share it with the entire world, anybody that's struggling. And as I said, I'm just an average Alaskan truck driver. I live in a trailer home in Alaska. I'm not horribly educated on health, wellness, or anything like that. And I'm just learning this as I go, and I'm stumbling a lot. That's part of the fun. People like to see you fail at times. So I have those viewers too to lean back on because they're awesome. I love them. And sometimes they say some nasty things and I just have to sit back and look at it and like, did I take that the wrong way? Because sometimes we do. We see a comment over here and then all of a sudden we're just like butthurt. We're like, we want to just start mashing keys. And that's the wrong response to have every single time. We need to just step back, take a break, look at that comment again, and then respond with something loving and caring. Because sometimes that person might be saying it in a different context, which we can't express in text. And that's where a lot of social media interactions fall to the side.
Well, so I'm fond of a saying that goes like this: hurt people hurt people.
Quite often. And so, this is the stuff I'm trying to get away from, is that whole spectrum of things.
Well, for me, I think, and that is what I was talking about, and as you went into your phone call there, it's the idea of when we're in this process of self-discovery, right? And it's really what it is. It's you're peeling back that onion. We're all like Shrek. We all have things that have been layered over, and sometimes it's good to let a sleeping dog lie. Other times you might have to open it up to take out the infectious material. I'll give an example. I grew up in a great family, mom and dad, middle class, lower middle class America. My dad was in the Army. We didn't lack, but we didn't have extra. Let's put it that way. Okay. It was good. But there's some things that transpired on, and I didn't realize it until maybe 15 years ago, and I'm 61 now. I did not realize that, my mom was an alcoholic. She was a fairly high functioning alcoholic, but an alcoholic nonetheless. And realizing things like that makes me understand. And I don't have bitterness. I don't harbor ill thoughts. And I wasn't horribly abused by today's standards. Yes, but by my day standards, I was pretty much under the bell curve. But as we go through the process of self-discovery and understanding, there is a place and a reason that we should show grace to every person we possibly can, because we don't know what their backstory is. We don't know what they've gone through to get to where they're at. And you may be the only person, John, or I may be the only person, or Laura or Lisa. We may be the only ones that someone is receptive to. And I think that's what you're saying with your channel. When people are receptive to your message, you do kind of have a responsibility.
Do we put that message up on the screen from LCVB? It says that Big John.
Laura, yeah.
Okay. Now, the reason I asked for this to be put up on the screen is because when this video is played back, after it's all said and done, we have something for me to respond to, and you guys can understand it better. So LCVB, at Big John, you are an inspiration. Seeing and hearing from real, nice, decent people is wonderful. It's unfortunate that tone and emotions can't be shared through text. Yes. And this is how the interaction for me works best, is to say the person's name, say what they said, and then kind of steer the conversation that way. Now, being an inspiration is hard, and it's something that I did accidentally. It's not something that
you didn't set out to do it.
Yeah, it just happened. And I'm just like, okay, well, if I'm an inspiration, then that means I need to keep on going. I need to keep sharing these experiences and keep learning how to better communicate with people. Lisa Blessed Life just came in the room and said, hello, everyone. I do follow this lady's channel here as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's comments like this from LCVB that are extremely helpful for us that are actually going through the journey, because I am an average person. I do get emotional at times. I have to put down the camera and put away all my stuff for a little while and take a break.
Right.
A lot. I can't just randomly film myself all day long, because there's a lot of stuff that bugs me. And that comes along with being overweight. That comes along with being morbidly obese. That comes along with eating for years an unhealthy type lifestyle. And here recently, in the last couple of weeks, as a recommendation from Todd at Carnivore Cure, he said, just cut out the cheese and see what happens. And I did that last week, and I did have a pretty substantial weight loss. Now, I am a cheesehead. I'm not from Wisconsin, but I absolutely love cheese. I love all different kinds of cheeses. And I have since I was a little kid. And I grew up on the East Coast in New Hampshire, and there was just tons of local dairies and
Right.
little cheese places and stuff like that to get in. I could tell what any cheese was, without even looking at it. I could tell by the flavor, the smell, and stuff like that. So I was highly involved in the cheese industry for a long time. But now that I'm trying to lose weight, I find out that cheese does tend to stall the process. So if you take the cheese out, and maybe not even 100%, just cut it out up to 50%, for instance, like I did last week. But I get to a point where I don't really need the cheese on the burgers, for instance, because once you cut your cheese in half, it doesn't do the same thing, because we have these little receptors in the back of our throats and right here, kind of in the jawline area, that when you eat certain foods, it just triggers a pleasure response, like right back here. It's almost magical. And you can find that response, through eating a whole bunch of different items like fruits and vegetables and meats, and bacon's one of them. But cheese is one that really, really hits us back here. And it's kind of like eating carbs. We used to eat so many carbs and so many sugary items because it made us feel a certain way. And when our food makes us feel a certain way, it becomes really hard to put down. And the buffet is a hard place for me. So I stay away from buffets, although I do plan on hitting up a Golden Corral on a steak night, because we do have Golden Corral here in Anchorage, Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And, whenever we get back on our feet financially, that's a place I'm probably going to hit them up, and then maybe do a short video, what I'm doing while I'm in the restaurant, what the foods I'm going after, and what my options are, because they're really limited. And a traditional trip to Golden Corral is always that soft bread, honey butter. One of my favorite things there used to be the mac and cheese. And I don't know why I ate the pizza there. It's horrible. Their burgers used to tend to be dry, but I'd eat them anyways. And then they had like a Chinese food type spread, which is all of these types of meat that are just covered in soy. They're covered in seed oils, and they're also covered in a lot of unnatural type sugars and stuff like that, which is just counterproductive to thinking we're eating healthy, but we're not. Another thing I thought of, okay, so before I really got going, I used to think I was eating healthy or getting a healthier drink option by ordering a Sprite. And I know some people are in there too, like, oh, it's just a Sprite. It's way better than drinking a Coca-Cola. Nonsense. That is the furthest thing from the truth, because
Right.
we might as well be shooting up high fructose corn syrup directly into our veins, because as soon as you do that, it just blows everything for weight loss out of the water.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to lose weight after drinking one of those drinks. And energy drinks, I got tied up with those too. They're horrible. They're horrible, and they make you sick. They attack your pancreas. They go after your kidneys. They affect your liver functions. They give you irritable bowel syndrome. I mean, just from drinking soda or an energy drink, it's absolutely just craziness.
Yeah, I think the reoccurring thought about eating natural whole foods came about for a good reason, right? I often am caught saying if we eat like our grandparents did, but the challenge is, in my estimation, right, is that I say we, those of us on the standard American diet, etc., we've eaten and gotten ourselves in such a metabolic mess, right, that we have to we have to un we have to unlearn, we have to undo, we have to heal from that, and that healing process. I think people said it before, and I know I have, is that just because you stopped eating carbs last month or 2 months ago doesn't mean all of a sudden everything's better. You know, yeah. I mean carbs. I mean the silly carbs. Like for me, the candy bars, the cookies, the cakes. I love those things, right? And um, just stopping that doesn't mean you're already back to 100% health and everything you've done has been reversed. Not like a country western song played backwards, but instead we have a whole journey ahead of us to get back to being healthy. And here's what's interesting about that. So you'd mentioned, John, about dropping the cheese out, right? Well, let's just say that whatever the food is that you drop out and then you see an improvement in your life, okay, um, does not mean that because on this month I made this change, therefore I'll maintain that change forever and ever, and I will have a linear improvement. You know, it continue to improve every month. It may be in a few months, maybe in a year, you can reintroduce some dairy into your diet and not have the negative because you've healed enough to where you're not piling on, so to speak. I know for my wife, for the longest time, she wasn't able to really enjoy eating citrus fruits because she'd get a flush. But now she's off of it for a long time. Then she started with a little bit and she's worked her way up. Well, the same thing with eggs. I mean, the things that have given us a problem today, I guess what I'm trying to say is whatever's given us a problem today doesn't necessarily mean that it will give us a problem forever, right? And that we are in a constant effort. I wasn't going to say battle, but I don't want to be negative. We're in a constant effort to assess and then reassess, to measure and to identify, to capture points of information and say, I've really felt great this week. And I have my little calendar and I felt good this week. I felt good this month. Hey, I'm seeing a little bit of a downtrend in my energy level, but I also incorporated this other thing. I always got frustrated as a parent. Now, when I was in the military, one of my jobs was a combat lifesaver. And my job was to take soldiers and airmen and put them back together if they got blowed up, right, before they get medical help. And so I've always had a fascination with some of this medical jargon and medical information, anatomy and physiology and things like that. And my daughter would come up to me when she was young and she said, Daddy, I have a tummy ache. And I was like, okay. I learned real quick, a tummy is anything from the collarbone to almost the kneecap. And I had to say, let's be more specific, And that's why when I was talking with you yesterday about the lymphatic system, when we can become our own I don't want to say doctor, but when we are aware of what is happening and we do the effort, take the effort like you've been taking, right? Cutting out the dairy, doing a thing for the sleep apnea, doing a thing for your mental acuity and mental well-being, right? Your energy level. When you track those things and you pay attention and you bird dog those things, then you can really ascribe some type of cause and effect that went in your life that puts you in charge, right? And I think that's one of those real important things that those of us who are actively engaged in this community can lean on each other to do and keep moving because we can no longer afford to rest on our laurels.
Okay, let's get back to the cheese aspect. Now, cheese by itself does not make me gain weight. I've been finding out the cheese is great once you get down to a maintenance type level. And carnivore is fantastic for maintaining your current body weight within 15 to 20 pounds, up or down, doesn't matter. Sometimes you're going to lose a little bit of weight. Sometimes you're going to gain a little bit of weight, depending on your fat to meat ratio. And that's just one thing I have found to be incredibly powerful. So when you remove the cheese for weight loss, because in order to achieve weight loss for me, I have to do stuff. I have to do something different. I'm not talking about go to the gym and exercise and stuff like that, because when I do that, I gain weight, and it comes on pretty quick. But a lot of it is because I'm upsetting the natural motion of what's going on. I'm releasing cortisol in my muscles. The body's not sure what's going on either, so it's confusing. So it wants to retain water because it's just not used to the extra motion, and that's what I've been running into. So when I remove dairy and I start adding, ketosis friendly foods like sardines, let's say eggs. If you just eat a lot of eggs and sardines, you're going to lose weight. And you're also going to balance out a lot of the hormones. The testosterone levels are going to balance out. Everything's just going to be super friendly for you. And overall, it's going to be a much easier experience to enjoy as you're coming down in the weight. Because if you're losing weight, you want to see the numbers drop, but you also want to do it in a way that makes you feel good and feel good about doing it. Because if you're miserable, no matter what you do, no matter which diet, I don't care if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, if the diet makes you feel miserable, you're not going to stick with it. You're only going to do it for a period of time. And this is why carnivore has been so powerful for me, because it's something I can continue, even when I'm having an off day.
Right.
I mean, go ahead.
Now, is your wife joining you in your carnivore journey?
She has been dabbling in it a little bit here and there. My sons are paying attention. My girls are paying attention. Now they're horribly sugar addicted. They're horribly carb addicted. So when they go out of the house, I have to kind of let them do what they do without self-shaming them. I don't want to bring them down. I don't want to make them feel bad about the decisions they're making, but I also want them to watch, what dad's doing, because, it wasn't too long ago that I was I was so fat, I couldn't get out of bed. I was having a hard time just scurrying around the corner to use the restroom at times. And it was scary. I mean, it was a scary process. Taking a shower, I was almost becoming injured. I got trapped in the bathtub when my family was away. So I went from that down to this. And they've been watching and paying attention the whole time. Like, all right, what's dad eating today? And why is he eating it? What's it going to do to him? How's it going to make him feel? And dad, they talk amongst each other, and they're like, dad's not the same as he used to be. I mean,
Probably about your emotional state too. I mean, they're very aware of that too. So, I mean, if you're more, how do I like to say, if you're more present, more engaged, more caring, more loving, all those nurturing attributes, because let's face it, if you're worried about being able to wake up the next day, that you might not wake up, you may be missing the bus on some of those nurturing things.
Absolutely. That's a huge thing right there, because when you're so focused on what's going on in here, and you do, and you become morbidly obese, you focus on all these little issues. I thought I had prostate cancer. I mean, because of all the constant urination, that's one of the signs. I was having problems pooping for a long time because I was just so fat. I mean, I was so fat. Not only that, I was just continuously shoving in the calories. And it was a process of, I would start in the morning. I would eat about a 2,000 calorie breakfast of absolute nonsense, French toast, pancakes covered in syrup. I would, cover waffles with eggs, and then I would put syrup on top of that, powdered sugar on top of that, and then I would have snacks shortly after that, to equal about 5 to 1,000 calories. I went over this with the wife a couple days ago, and she was just like, "Wow, you were eating all that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I would go to work, and on my way to work, I would buy a 5 to 1,000 calorie cup of coffee, counterproductive. And then sometimes I would order a bagel, a donut, pastry, or something like that. And these calories all added up to a calorie count of approximately 10 to 20,000 calories per day. And that helps me figure out, okay, how did this guy get 435 pounds? How did you get to that point? And I think finding the root causes of how we got there is the most important aspect of trying to figure out how we don't return there, because it's super easy to just snowball calories throughout the day because we feel a certain way when we eat. So when I sit down at my kitchen table, I'm just mash thumbing my phone or watching YouTube videos. I'm bored. And what do we do when we're bored? We hit up the pantry, we go to the fridge, we snack on stuff, we sometimes drink unhealthy options, and it's just one of those things. So once we actually dial it in, we're like, all right. And it's not just cutting stuff out, it's understanding what we're doing to ourselves so we can adjust ourselves in a different way. Because just eliminating everything, going straight 100% carnivore, it's not going to cure the problem until we cure this up here. Because
you got to know your why. You got to know your why. I mean, I attribute that very same thought process as I pull back that Shreky onion is food makes me comfortable. I grew up in a house that had a lot of external discipline. My father being an Army NCO and all this good, and he's first generation. His parents immigrated here. Children will be seen, not heard. Jump, how high, permission to land. I was given a lot of external discipline. The challenge with it, and I'm very good at receiving it, and I did 20 years in the military because I know how to do that. But what it robbed me of was building a strong sense of internal discipline, right? What it pushed me into is when I found things that were pleasurable, I go whole hog into them. So the syrup and the powdered sugar on top of the waffles, and my mom used to catch me with sugar cubes in my pants because when they go, I'd pick them up and keep them for later. So when I eat, it's oftentimes a stress eating response, a boredom, right? But it's about I want to have pleasure, and that first pleasure comes from an oral fixation. I mean, my tummy only feels pain. My tummy only feels distress. My tummy never feels good. The only thing that ever felt good was all located in my taste buds, right? And the same thing was with alcohol. The same thing with some other things in my life. So the issue I'm getting to is understanding where our weaknesses are, like you were saying. If you're an alcoholic and you are in recovery, right? So you're no longer practicing, you probably won't and shouldn't go hang out at a bar. Doesn't mean that you can't be around people who drink, but you probably shouldn't go to a bar. If you're a sex addict, you shouldn't be watching pornography. If you're in healing, right? If you're in remission, so to speak. I think it's not like smoking. I used to be a smoker. Now I can't stand any smoke around me. I can't take the flavor. I can't take none of it, right? Well, unfortunately, I can't say no to food, and I can't, there are other things, you have this complex mixture of life. So like you're saying, John, it's real important to know your whys and to dig down to know what your triggers are. One, you can avoid them. Two, you can get strong against them and let them not have power over you anymore. I mean, that's one of the greatest things I've learned in my journey walking as I'm a practicing Christian, and I do it because I realize how much help I need, and that's a great process for me and a great mindset that I have, because many of these things are bigger than I am. Many of my quote unquote addictions are bigger than I am, and I can't get through them on my own. I think that's why I like this community. We can get through what we're doing weight wise with other people, because left to our own devices for people like me, it won't work. I can't do it.
I think a lot of my weight gain happened through routine. Like the morning routine led to, I'm going to stop at the convenience store. I'm going to buy X, Y, and Z to hopefully be prepared for lunchtime or whatever. But the options at a convenience store, I mean, if you guys go into them and really look at those options and you read the ingredients, even the pre-made foods that are sitting on the warmers, they're just made of nothing. There's really nothing nutritional in there. But we trick ourselves, and that's one of the problems, is we trick ourselves into believing that, oh, it's only a cheeseburger. Well, that cheeseburger's got 500 ingredients in it, and that burrito's got 375 ingredients in it, and it's all stuff we can't pronounce. And it's just looking at these things, a bag of potato chips. Oh, it seems innocent enough, right? Well, the seed oils, man, it's just everything gets so overwhelming because we just keep compiling one bad choice on top of another bad choice. And then we come home as part of our routine and we're just doing more bad choices. We eat dinner. And then I was eating like a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream pretty much on the daily, or we'd go out to like Dairy Queen and get something, a Blizzard and stuff like that, which is an okay occasional treat. But just like the soda pops, a lot of us relied on, Coca-Cola, Sprite, Dr. Pepper. We started drinking those every single day. Now, Scotty, you're up around the same age range I am. And you remember when we were kids, we didn't live off of soda pop. We drank a soda. Our parents would give us a soda. Usually half a glass is what we were allowed as a treat at dinner time. And we are getting to our grandparents' age now. So we have to start thinking like our grandparents. And I love that analogy, eat like our grandparents used to. Well, we also need to eat like we used to when we were younger children.
Right.
And to add on to that, when did the food change? Because we all had a pretty good grasp on what to put in our bodies for many, many years. But in my opinion, it happened around the 1990s when McDonald's changed everything. And I've said this before, I don't want to point a finger at McDonald's because they weren't exactly the pivotal point. But that is when McDonald's made a huge change to how they cook their iconic French fries. They went from beef tallow, which really isn't that bad. The potato itself really isn't that bad. And then they just started changing all of the vegetable oils to inflammatory seed oils. And then they also changed up a lot of their basic ingredients, like their cheeses. They came out to a newer processed type cheese, which has several ingredients in it now compared to what it used to be, where it was just cheese. And it's just, even the bread's been manipulated from what it used to be. So for years,
bread didn't go bad that like it used to. I remember when I was a kid, if you didn't eat a loaf of bread up in a week, it would be green.
Yeah. And then now the bread lasts in your pantry for sometimes a month if you store it correctly. But it's just crazy how different the wheats and the flours have been manipulated, with GMO pesticides and stuff like that. And how many times have we heard of a recall on bag salad? So many salmonella outbreaks from bag salad. Wouldn't that tell the population, stop buying bag salad? Just don't buy it anymore. You're not going to have to worry about that. If you want a salad, make it out of make it out of some lettuce. But even there, go ahead.
No, I'm going. I think you hit the proverbial nail on the head in that convenience food, as you said, a convenience store, convenient food, microwave cuisine, right? And I'm reading what Laura put down about a mom loves sharing gourmet food to show love that she never had as a child, right? That's another avenue where some poor dietary habits are started. But to answer your question, you said the 90s. I was thinking the 70s, the mid 70s, when 2-liter soda bottles started popping up, right? And this whole idea of instant gratification, right? Okay, I remember when TV was 4 channels, right? The big 3 and PBS, right? That's all you had. I remember when cable came in. And so what we've gone to a society where we have near instant access worldwide to almost anything we want, right? You can go to Amazon, and we've lost, I call this, my mom had this situation. So my mom loved her morning cup of coffee. Never really understood why until I figured things out. But mom wanted a cup of coffee. We used to have a percolator. Well, the percolator, when you have the coffee grounds in it and the water ground in it, and she had the big like 23 cup silver thing because we drank a lot of coffee, right? She did, and my dad did. Well, it takes 30 minutes for that to cook up. 5 minutes before it was done, my mom was losing her ever loving mind, right? So we decided, hey, mom, we're going to hook you up. And we started going to instant coffee. Pot of water on the stove, instant coffee. And we had as soon as we heard my mom moving around, we turned the coffee on and we got it going. We could boil it and make her a cup of coffee, right?
Yep.
A minute before it was done boiling, she was losing her ever-loving mind, cursing at us. So I got a job and I had some extra cash. I bought a coffee pot that pre-brews. You could set the timer.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my coffee? And it was already brewed. It wasn't poured quick enough in her cup. So what I think this facilitated in that analogy, that analogy, in our lives, we are not people who sit there and say, you know what, I'm gonna take the time I need to make, create, to, like Laura was saying, going in the kitchen. And now it's a big thing. People all of a sudden, oh, now we want to cook and we want to take a lot of time. I think it's ridiculous. But I think our instant gratification in our brains drives a lot of that convenience, like you said, convenience store food. But you said about bag lettuce. Well, buy the ingredients and make a salad. Oh, but then I have to plan. I have to think. I have to be I have to be responsible. I have to accept that that's my only choice because I don't have enough money to buy 72. Go to a restaurant. Go to any meat like a Logan's, Texas Roadhouse, or what you said, the Golden Corral. You've got a smorgasbord to pick from for food. You know, I think we're really spoiled.
And almost nobody goes to the salad bar. I mean, in the salad bar, for instance, I mean, it's not on the carnivore plane, but it was sold to us as a healthy option. And it was a miserable option, by the way, because I've always fought with the whole, you need to eat salad to lose weight. And I've actually practiced that. It doesn't work. And I'm sorry, if I eat lettuce, I have immediate sugar cravings. So, okay, let's say I visited the salad bar. I filled up on salad. The next step would be to walk over to the dessert aisle and pick up just something I don't need. And then I just ruin that salad, let alone what I put on the salad. You know, we're Americans. We screw up our salad every time. I don't know anybody that just eats the leafy greens and is happy. They cover it. They cover it in ranch dressing. They cover it in some sort of dressing. It's so covered in stuff that it doesn't even resemble a vegetable anymore. And you're just consuming whatever's in that particular dressing.
You can't digest any of that leafy green and any of the vitamins inside of it. You can't release really any of it. It's not bioavailable.
No.
But that's what good marketing does. Good marketing by people who, like, I don't know if you heard me on this little rant of mine, but you know, the Doritos, the manufacturer of Doritos, right? And of chip factories, all chips. If you took a bag of Doritos and opened them up and separated them, you'd find about 4 color variations in the bag. You'd find one that had very little spice. You'd find one that had a lot of spice.
Those were the best.
And then you'd have the ones that had in the medium spice range, and you might have something a little different, an off one, right? Those are put together in a ratio of food scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists, dietitians, mathematicians. They found the perfect ratio of those chips to put in each bag, because if they were all spiced, you wouldn't eat them. If they're all bland, you wouldn't eat them. If they're all perfect, you wouldn't eat them. But you need that variability to a certain degree within each bag, which makes you addicted to eating them.
That goes back to my theory of the burnt Cheez-It. Okay, I don't know if you like the flavor overtone of an actual burnt Cheez-It that runs off the edge of the assembly line. Those are the ones that are typically spread off the assembly line with these little spreaders. And once in a while they get in the bag. Now, I was actually part of the campaign to come up with toasted Cheez-Its because I was in love with that burnt Cheez-It flavor overtone. And I was constantly emailing Cheez-It back and forth, you know, trying to create the perfect toasted Cheez-It, which is out on the market today. It's a failure in my opinion, because it doesn't hit what I'm talking about. But we would have a big box of Cheez-Its. I would eat that entire box looking for that occasional burnt Cheez-It. And this is exactly what Scotty's talking about right here, with the difference of flavor variances in a Doritos bag is because somebody there likes the one without a lot of seasoning, and somebody else, like myself, hold on, let me shut that off. I like the ones that have a lot of seasoning on them, and that's the one I'm searching for. So I'm going to eat that entire bag looking for that sensation of the burnt Cheez-It just in a bag of Doritos. And yes, it is absolutely done on purpose. I've been in and out of these manufacturing facilities and behind the scenes and seen how all of this stuff is done. Worked at the Pillsbury factory for a period of time. Also worked on creating products like Swanson broth, beef broth, chicken broth, and muscle milk, for instance. That's another thing I have experience with. And I used to run the assembly line. So yeah, there's a lot of math that goes behind the scenes, and in particular to get you addicted to specific products and to mislead you in a lot of ways.
Well, that's like M&M's. If you think about an M&M, there's no different flavor between any color, but people get fixated on a color. And that's why they put the new colors out, the new ones and everything. I want to read real quick. Laura put down here about parents love what they call camp coffee. Me too. I do it at my house. I have coffee, and I can be a coffee snob. I grind my own coffee on occasion. I've even roasted my own coffee. It's an arduous task, but it's so good. But yeah, I've done the camp coffee. And of course, being a military guy, I've done plenty of other. Hey, Arlene is here. Hello, Arlene. Good to see you. Welcome to the House of Scotty P. We're talking here with John, a big man in Alaska, and we're just having a grand old time bantering about a number of topics. But right now we're hitting on the planned, the targeted efforts of our food industry. I mean, it's hard enough for us to maintain proper diet and nutrition in a healthy way. I mean, John, I used to own an ice cream store. I served hard ice cream, and I sold many tens of gallons a week, hundreds of gallons a month of hard ice cream. So I know about eating poorly and eating all my mistakes. And we had the all beef hot dogs and everything else too, and chips. And I'm lucky enough I never got into the chips, but the whole idea, though, in the food industry, think about it. We can make our own bread. We can cook our own meats. We can make our own soups. What else can we do? We can make our own drinks. It's called going to the faucet. I like tea, so I have tea, because I'm kind of weaning off the coffee. But the idea is instant gratification, popularity, and also, when did it become, if we're going to talk about our grandparents and eating like our grandparents, let me ask this question. Maybe Arlene, you can chime in, or Laura, Alicia. How much variability was there in our grandparents, or John said our children, and when we were young? How much variety was there? I mean, beef, chicken, fish, maybe once in a while some lamb. Not that often, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you change your poultry. Maybe you have some duck. Of course, you have duck. But really, how much variety was in our grandparents' pantry? It's whatever you could get in your local market. Mm-hmm. But look now, if I go to my refrigerator right now, if I go to my spice cabinet, there's 47 different types of spices. There's 20 different sauces in my refrigerator.
And we don't use hardly any of it. It just sits there. We just hold on to it like our grandparents used to hold on to little pieces of wire, and they just sit there in the drawer or in the shop.
Bottles of soy sauce in the back.
Lots of it. Yeah, I still have some. Yeah, they're there. And you see, here in Alaska, guys, I live in Anchorage, Alaska. And in order to live in Anchorage, Alaska and thrive, you have to have X, Y, and Z taken care of, which is you got to have some sort of prepping type pantry set up. And a lot of processed foods go into those prepping pantries. Now, what I'm using that pantry for today is in case something bad happens, which we have bad things here in Alaska all the time. We have natural earth disasters, earthquakes. We just went through a severe windstorm last week, knocked out power to a lot of people. I believe Bill Knott up in Willow lost power for a period of time. We have to have backup supplies and stuff like that. Now, it might not necessarily be on our platform or, dietary plane, but when we can't get to the store and purchase meats or go out and hunt and fish, we have to have something for backup. And also, if our neighbors should have an issue, we have to have something to hopefully help our neighbors get through a bad time too.
Right.
Because here in Alaska, we take care of one another. That's just what we do. And I got an alarm that just keeps going off for no reason. But okay, go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
No, I totally get you. And Arlene, I hear what you're saying there about potato. I know my father-in-law, he was not a fan of potatoes. He grew up in the hills of Kentucky, no running water and no electricity till he's like 14 years old, right? In the cabin, he grew up in a little backwoods area of Kentucky. And he got tired of eating potatoes because after a number of months, no matter how well you store them, they get kind of a little bit of challenging. But what you're talking about, helping people and being ready for a disaster, or whatever comes out. Like we had the big cold snap here about a month ago, and we were worried about power, and so I got my generator. Because of things that happened in COVID, I still have many, many jars of dry canned rice and beans, right? I mean, if I get to a place where nutrition fights hunger, hunger always wins. I mean, I think that's the whole point of what a lot of the people in our scope, the doctors say. You cannot do a diet, right, forever, because hunger always wins. That's why it has to be a lifestyle change. And also, John, I know you do the prepping thing, but I think the two most important things, if not three most important things that you can do to that venue is one, be healthy. Be as healthy as you can be going into something. And two, have friends, right? I mean, dependable people around you. Everything else you can shake out. But if you don't have those, all you are is a provider to me, because I'm going to take it from you.
Okay, so I want to get back to Arlene Blackwood's comment about the potatoes.
Yeah.
Now, the potatoes, I'm an advocate for just good health in general, not necessarily 100% carnivore, everything. I want to cover a lot of topics and I want to reach a lot of people. But just imagine this mouse is just a potato all by itself. It's what we do to that potato that makes it unhealthy. So if we cook it in seed oils, we cook it in vegetable oils. If we buy store-bought potatoes that have been manipulated in any way whatsoever, now that potato is unhealthy, because a potato by itself is actually rather nutritious. There's a lot of nutrition in the skin. There's actually some decent nutrition in the starches and stuff like that. But that's where a lot of this gets confused, because people are like, oh, well, a potato is actually healthy, but yeah, it's what you do to it. It's how you're presented that potato when it's time to eat it is what we need to consider. If you're covering even that potato, cooked in some healthy oils like avocado oil and make it into a French fry, you can immediately turn that same somewhat healthy potato into an unhealthy potato by either overheating it or putting on too much ketchup or adding ranch dressing that's overly processed. You just took all the nutritional value.
Or you negated it.
Yeah. And then you have digestive issues like we've been suffering from. And it's just absolute nonsense for our inner gut. And once we get it all out and we start focusing on what's making this wrong, then we can actually start bettering ourselves, and we can hopefully help other people better themselves as well.
And to piggyback on that one and use potato as an example of a newly harvested Idaho potato, right? Not GMO, but a regular potato, right? Has a lot of vitamin C. And if you think about it, that doesn't have much vitamin C as fruit, like a big orange, probably not. But here's the deal: a jalapeno has more vitamin C. But the idea is, if you're in a proper human diet where more meats are being eaten and more dietary fats are being eaten, right? Your demand for vitamin C crashes. You don't need nearly as much. That's why the Inuit Indians and the Eskimos don't have scurvy. They don't have any citrus trees growing in Alaska, do they?
No, but here's another thing is that just because something has a vitamin in it, like a vegetable, for instance, doesn't make it, what do they call that? Bioavailable. That's the word I'm looking for. Bioavailability is how our bodies absorb things. If we cannot absorb that particular vitamin C from a potato, just like the vegans, they take B12 supplements. That is just a huge scientific dive into trying to get them non-animal based B12, because B12 is found in animal based products primarily. So they came up with a a crazy convoluted way of coming up with their own B12. But is it bioavailable to the vegans? I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe it is, but is it different in some way? Because it almost has to be, because our natural way of getting B12 is through animal meats. And that's what makes the vegan diet so dangerous for me. And when I tried doing it for a period of time, about 7 months, Scotty, I was losing muscle mass. And I was just a really tall, skinny guy. And I looked very awkward. I already look awkward because I'm a pear shape now. But it was just, I felt so awkward and out of place because I had skinny arms, and I was like, no, this isn't working for me. So I had to go basically back to a traditional SAD diet at the time, or closer to an omnivore type diet, just so I could start building up some mass again and getting some strength back in my arms.
Yeah, I think that I'm very cautious. Now I like vegetables. I've always liked vegetables. I like onions. I love onions, right? And I'm not going to bash them. I think though the portionality based, for whatever reason, got the proportions got out of control. Then, like you said, the sauces and the adulteration through seed oils and those things got out of quote unquote control. But again, I think that what is that old saying? Everything in moderation, right? I know I saw Arlene was talking about good diets for her grandfather. I want to say it was a grandfather, right? But that heavy drinking. I mean, alcohol is a poison. There's no other way to look at it. And if I'm not judging anybody for drinking or not drinking or whatever. But what I will say is, and you do too much of anything, particularly alcohol, there's some other negative consequences to that, and there's no way around that, and that's just the way it is. And I think what you were saying earlier about the salad or the potato, if you're only getting this much goodness of something and you add that much badness on top of it, you've negated it. It's almost like that bioavailability statement. Just because it has a bunch of vitamin C because someone burned it in a lab to measure all the stuff it has, doesn't mean your body can use any of it, right? We all know that. We understand that's why a carnivorous focus on our diet is advantageous, because our body can use it. I'm often talking to people about this whole anti-fat thing that we went through from the 70s on, and how devastating that's been to our culture and to the world, because your brain is made, 70% of it is made of fat, right? Cholesterol, all the coating on your nerves, the myelin, it's made out of a cholesterol. Half your hormones are cholesterol backbones, right? And then you take a statin, which interferes with your body's ability to process it, and then we wonder why we have the Alzheimer's, the dementias, the paper-thin skin, the ugly bruising, and bone loss and osteoporosis, right? And sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass. It's because you've interrupted a major component of the body mechanism by blocking what cholesterol does. So getting smart and understanding, like we do here, it's imperative. And why are we considered heretics, right? When we're advocating what we ate for thousands of years and seem to be okay with.
It just seems like an oxymoron, because when people look at us, or they want to talk about what I'm doing to lose weight, and I'm telling them what I'm doing, they're like, man, that just seems like a really hard way to do it, and it's really not. But like I said yesterday, I think I mentioned this on your stream, I was like, it is so counterproductive to become diagnosed with cancer or diagnosed with diabetes or heart failure or other stuff like that. And this is what I'm trying to prevent here. I mean, I'm not trying to force myself to have a heart attack by eating only meats and fats or eggs and bacon, because the furthest thing from the truth is that happens. Now, if you want to screw up the carnivore diet, I mean, I can tell you how. And that is, you're going to add in a lot of meats and fats. You're going to eat a ton of eggs, and then you're going to go straight out the door to McDonald's. You're going to go to the convenience store. You're going to buy a bag of potato chips. You're going to eat a bunch of ice cream with high fructose corn syrup in it and a bunch of fake vanilla. That's how you get the heart attack. That's how you screw up even a vegan diet. I mean, you can eat nothing but plants and then do the same thing. And yeah, you're playing with fire when you're trying to mix highly processed foods in with a healthy type diet. And
Right.
this is how the cholesterol becomes an issue. It becomes so out of whack, your body doesn't know what to do. And as a general rule, we're finding out that cholesterol really isn't that big of an indicator, and LDL and stuff like that isn't that big of an indicator for heart attacks, heart failure, heart disease, and stuff like that. The things that I'm slowly figuring out and I'm experiencing myself just from doing this stuff, it's just been mind blowing. And it's stuff that I considered early on because of, like I said, her early programming, back in the 70s and 80s, that all of a sudden we're not supposed to have fat. We're not supposed to eat certain things like bacon. We're not supposed to eat eggs because we're going to have a heart attack and die. It's like, well, why don't they teach that about cocaine? Because cocaine seems to be illegal with all the politicians, but it's not for us because it's just so expensive. But my point is not that. It's just, that's a joke. It's just one of those things. It's like we were force fed this stuff, like eat a salad, go exercise more to lose weight. Well, I'm losing weight with little to no exercise. And this is why I share my journey, is because I think that that's important. As a truck driver that doesn't get a whole lot of exercise, I don't do a lot of anything for that matter, except drive my truck. I get in and out. I go home. I live a normal life like the majority of people that want to do. They just want to get out of work and go home. They don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. I can go to the gym, but it's a miserable place for me. Now, when I was younger, going to the gym was great for getting toned up. It was great for building some muscle, meeting new people, and learning some new things. But that's not a sustainable lifestyle. And if we're going to have a sustainable lifestyle, let's say from 30 years on, through the rest of our life, we have to come up with a sustainable type of way of eating. And so far, carnivore just seems to fill in all the gaps. Plus, it works really well with my eating disorder of I need to eat everything that I see. If you put it on my plate, I'm going to eat it.
Right.
So that's another aspect.
Oh yeah. We could explore that one a lot of time one night. Laura here says you watched a show about a 5,000-year-old Iceman who had a chamois and elk in his stomach, and experts telling he was a vegetarian just because he had some grains and seeds in his pouch. Might have had the grains and seeds in his pouch because he was feeding the elk and trying to trap them, or like what do we have now for deer hunters? They had food plots, right? I mean,
well, you have to remember as well, back when Icemen were around, they were eating the organ meats too. So whatever that got into, he might have been eating that because those people back then knew that the heart was nutritious and helped give them energy, and the liver was extremely helpful. Now, like elk, for instance, caribou, they found people dead on the tundra with their stomachs full of caribou meat because there's really not a lot of fat in the they're a really lean beast. Mm-hmm. So there's not a whole lot of nutrition going on there. And in order for people to survive out in the wilderness like that, they need a high fat type intake.
Well, you got to eat the brain.
You got to, along with the protein, because if you take away the fats altogether and just eat nothing but lean meat, you're missing the boat. You got to have fats in there.
Well, they call that rabbit syndrome. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No.
Yeah, it's called rabbit syndrome. Matter of fact, where the animals are, I can't remember. It's a documentary a young kid made. He ended up dying on his little school bus. He was out there documenting the wilderness, and all he was eating was rabbits because that's all he could trap. And what happens in the rabbit syndrome when we do the carnivore type thing and we do keto, we're training our body to become fat adapted, right? So your body has that option. A bunch of things happen. Some things are upregulated, others are downregulated, and your body produces the ketones. Your brain is happy. Everything going fine, right? Well, just like you can be fat adapted, when the people eat just protein, it trains your body to look for protein as a source of a nutrition, and you don't have the cholesterol, like you said, for the hormone backbones and building stuff. Anyway, it's a wasting disease. It's pretty remarkable that there's a name for this. That means it happens often enough to where they can name it, but it's actually almost like refeeding syndrome. It's something different, but it's called rabbit syndrome. And eating all protein like bodybuilders will do, and then they die because they don't have the electrolytes, they don't have the chemical neurotransmitters they need because they don't have the cholesterol for the backbones for building all these hormones. Yeah, fat That is super important. So, I heard Dr. Rob Cyrus talk about that. I don't know if you've ever seen his channel out there, the Carnivore Doc, I think that's what he is, but Rob Cyrus, he's from South Africa. But he was talking about, let's make sure we don't so demonize carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are really important to us. They're so important that there's a whole organ in our body that was put there to make them, right? So, and you got what is that? You can go through the process of making all of it, right, from nothing. You don't have to have carbohydrates. You can use proteins as a source, which goes into something I was reading today that talked about some guys and gals who are struggling on carnivore, particularly with still having some high glucose readings when they do the glucose meters. Turns out they're eating so much protein, they think they're eating enough fat, but they're not. And so what happens is you're actually becoming hyperinsulinic, right? Because you're hypoglycemic, because you're getting too much sugar. Your body's taking all that protein. People who go into carnivore and they start eating at 1 to 2 pounds. Now, some people are what they call that hyper responders, lean mass hyper responders. Some people can really do that, and they just respond really well to just gobbling down pounds of meat. But most people don't. And so what happens is you end up creating a condition that's equivalent to basically diabetes, because you eat so much meat and your glucose stays way up high. And that's why weight loss is slowed down or reversed, even though you're being real strict, but you're being so strict without the animal fats. It's imperative that we have them.
Now, for me, when I started carnivore or any aspect of carnivore type eating, I tried going super strict right away, and I hit a wall. I hit a hard wall. I was extremely frustrated. I had constipation concerns. At times I felt like I was constipated, and other times I felt like I was constipated, but I wasn't. And that does go away after time. But if I were to recommend like a carnivore type diet, I wouldn't say, hey man, just only eat meats and fats. I wouldn't say that to any of my good friends. I would be like, eat more proteins, focus on more proteins, no matter what you're eating, even if it's crap. Just focus on more proteins, natural, healthy type meats. And then if you're going to add in a little bit of crap or whatever you want, vegetables, fruits, that's okay. But transition here, because when you just shut the carbs off, I think what happened for me when I shut the carbs off completely, and this was after, several weeks or months of practicing fasting. And fasting is basically the elimination of all carbs and stuff like that. But my body was still carb addicted, even though I did a lot of fasting. So shutting off all the carbs, like just flipping a light switch, was counterproductive. And it created a lot of unhealthy feelings. Like I had a lot of emotions that came along with that, because I didn't know what was going on. And this is when I started really getting involved in the carnivore community, trying to ask questions like, hey man, I'm feeling like this. Like I've done it with you on your show. I've asked you many questions throughout the journey. Like, hey, I'm experiencing this. What might I be able to do? At one point, I did implement MCT oil through coconut oil, and it's just naturally in coconut oil. So I was putting about a tablespoon of that into my coffee until I felt like I was somewhat regulated. And now I'm to that point. I don't even need the MCT oil anymore. I haven't had it in over a week, and I cut out coffee for a little while just to see if the coffee was changing anything or making me feel different. I still had increased energy levels in the morning, so the coffee wasn't necessary anymore. But I just love the flavor of coffee. I like the overtone and the smell of roasted coffee beans. It's just kind of one of those things. So I put the coffee back in. I'm just not adding anything into it now. I don't put butter. I don't put MCT oil in it. I'm eating a lot more steak now because we found some really good prices on meat at the Costco Business Center here. And the 80-20 meat that they have in that 10-pound tube is incredibly affordable. It's $2.99 a pound. I can eat 4 of those patties, which cost me about $5 per meal. And it's just awesome stuff. A little bit of salt, maybe half a slice of cheese. I've been using some hot sauce. My wife got me some hot sauce for Valentine's Day in a big assortment, little bottles of hot sauce. And even if they have some crappy ingredients in there, I don't worry. I don't sweat the little stuff. in my sauces, I've never sweat the little stuff. The biggest stuff that I am concerned with in sauces, salad dressings, or anything like that would be high fructose corn syrup.
I
Because
would add canola oil and high fructose and the seed oil, because most of those sauces have that. But to piggyback on what you're saying, if I were recommending to anybody that wanted to go like my son-in-law started it, right? I would sit and say, like you said, on ramps and off ramps in life really tend to work out well. You know what I mean? You don't go whole hog in anything. I mean, the idea, work on first reducing as much as you can those things you've identified as being antithetical to your well-being. Let's say ice cream. Let's say it's bread. I mean, lots of bread, right? Reduce that stuff while you increase, decent cuts of meat, right? If you want to stay with vegetables, dude, stay with vegetables. You know what I mean?
Just watch the kind of vegetables you're eating and understand what they're doing to you.
Right. Yep. What you're adding to them, you only realize. All I'm eating is potatoes and some mixed vegetables. Yeah, but what are you putting on it? Like we talked about earlier. So I recommend that you get under control, make a food log. People don't realize how much they're stuffing in their pie hole. Once you get that, maybe you can start saying, hey, I noticed I've been eating this, like you say, snacking. Well, were you bored? Were you aggravated? Did you just get a call from one of your kids or from your mom or from a sister, and now you're seeing this eating thing? Try to, like you were saying, you've got to assess things yourself, like you did with the coffee and the coconut oil, the MCT oils, whatever. You need to be on this constant vigilance. You know what I mean? You really have to be the watchman on at the tower, on the wall, saying, what goes in my mouth is my choice. I am responsible for what goes into my pie hole, and I know why I'm eating what I'm eating, right? I know what I'm expecting from this return, what's my return on investment type thing. But if you're new to this and all this is overwhelming because you've been on this mantra of guidance and all the doctors have told you what's right, the government has told you, and who would ever do anything so diabolical as to lie to you? Well, look at the doctors who endorse smoking. I'm done. This whole idea is it's a process, and we who've already done it, like John, you've done it, I've done it, Laura and everybody else here has done it, Arlene, it's the idea that showing grace to that person to say, you won't be perfect the first time. You don't want to go whole hog, like you were saying. And, oh, by the way, when you do get to a point, everybody ends up talking about poop, because that's just like, an important aspect. Look at all the toilet paper that gets sold, right? Okay. When you're on a proper human diet and you're not eating all those fibers and stuff like that, all your food gets liquefied. That's not a fiber. It gets liquefied in your small intestines, and then eventually, as it goes over and into the large intestines, and the absorption of fluids and waters and bile salts and all the things that help digest the food are recycled in your body, finally get to the end where you have to eliminate the leftovers. Well, when you're absorbing 80-95% of what you eat, you're not going to be doing the same behaviors in the toilet like you've been doing in the past. So I don't know why it seemed like it's an amazing discovery, but if you don't put in 10 pounds of fiber, you're going to give out 10 pounds of fiber if you put in 10 pounds of fiber, right? Yep. And the idea is these changes are something that are the result of actions you've taken. So maybe what we need to do, I don't want to be graphic, but I chronicle everything on my calendar in my phone. So I can look back and go, oh, and that way I think it's important too. I'm a data guy. I like data sets, and I think you can make better decisions when they aren't done off of emotional moments without any data. Okay. But once you start noticing, hey, I've got data to back up this thing. This is why I'm doing this,
So when I first started this weight loss journey, I was in contact with my doctor and stuff like that. Before I even started looking into fasting principles, the first thing he asked me to do was come up with a food log, a good solid 7-day food log.
Right.
It took me about a solid month to put together because I kept missing the boat. I'd forget to write down things as I went. And I wanted to be honest about because doctors cannot understand what's going on in your situation if you are not 100% transparent about everything that's going on in your situation. Because sometimes the way you feel might have something to do with what they might prescribe you or they might want to do with you next. So I had to be very specific on my food log. And when I finally came down with my food log, the one thing I took away from it most wasn't the accuracy of the food log. Was at the end of that 7 days, I got tired of writing in that food log. I was eating so much. So I got to a point where I slowly started, by the 7th day, I was eating a lot less food because I didn't want to take my food log and just keep jotting stuff down in it. It was embarrassing to look at my self-reflection in the mirror and say like, hey, you're going to have to write that down. And then that makes you accountable. And this is how things slowly started to progress. And then I started looking into, different types of fasting. And that's what really got the ball rolling because I was just swollen. I was swollen everywhere. And I wanted to get the weight off, but I wanted to get it off quickly. I didn't want to waste time. I didn't want to go to the gym either because I was physically unable to make it to a gym.
Right.
And even if I went to a gym, I would injure myself. And I did. I tried walking around the neighborhood and I wound up injuring myself. And I injured myself when I was on camera at one point when I was taking my cat out the door because it triggered my plantar fasciitis and I almost went down, while I was recording the video. And it was a bad video, so I'm not going to recommend people go digging through, try to find it. But it was an injury that resulted from rapid weight loss as well as everything else that was compounding my issues. But my point is that if you're just sitting at home and you just want to learn how to lose weight, it's so possible. You don't have to jump through all these hoops, do all these amazing things that you see these superstars on the internet trying to do, because average people, like me and Scotty, we're just figuring it out. And, we're sharing the experience and hopefully trying to just get that message out to everybody that, hey, this is possible. You don't have to feel horrible tomorrow if you don't want to. It's all a choice. That's what a lot of addiction is. It's a choice.
That's right. That's right. And it's this idea of if you can make a better version of yourself, if you can look at yourself and say, today I'm a better version of myself than I was yesterday, maybe last week. It doesn't have to be by orders of magnitude, leaps and bounds. It's just the idea of, hey, I made it one more day without eating that fried lemon pie, right? I made it one more day without a six-pack or whatever the thing is, you know what I mean? And then you sit there and say, you know what? I've strung together enough days, and I really like the overall direction of where I'm going. I now have more strength, right? And then you throw in, hey, I found a community of people like we have here, and you come up on the net, and there are a lot of people that come up onto my lives that have never gotten on the screen, right? But they derive a benefit from being able to share within the community, right? And I think that what we end up creating is a really strong multi-cord support network for continuing on. And then when we have a lapse, we have people who will encourage us. Like when Carnivore Kip, he gets a lapse and he gets back on the wagon. He comes back and it's like, hey, this is not a sprint. This is not trying to win an Academy Award or something. This is a life-changing effort, and that means it's going to take your whole life.
Yeah, Carnivore Kip had a hard time. I saw that part of that going on there, and he was struggling, with the audience. He was struggling with the haters and the people that loved him. He was going through the roles, and that's another thing is we go through a lot of emotions while going through these journeys, and sometimes we just go off into left field at times, and it's hard to stay focused without the community in mind, for instance, because for my journey in particular, the only thing that keeps me on track and the only thing that keeps me losing weight consistently or eating healthy or talking about specific topics is the community itself. It's the people that come in and want to just tell their story. And I encourage people all the time, like, hey, let me know what your story is. I'm interested. I want to hear. You don't have to give me too much information, but I like to. It's like a mini postcard from around the world. I like hearing where people are from. It doesn't have to be in the lower 48 because I got people in China, Australia, Austria, just everywhere. And that's fun for me because me and my father, we used to talk on the ham radio when I was a kid, and we used to send QSL cards. If you know what those are, you're old enough to know those. But and then sometimes
KC5 AYS.
Oh, right on. We would just tape a coin, a U.S. coin, and they would do the same. They would just take an insufficient, a small denomination coin, and we trade them back and forth. So I had a whole jewelry box just full of coins from all over the world, and it was a super fun way to connect with people at that time because we were just bouncing our radio waves off the atmosphere, and it was just coming back down in different places around the country.
Yeah.
It was super fun, super good hobby. But it went by the wayside. My father's CB radio and all that went bye-bye. But it is unfortunate, but it was a fun adventure.
Oh yeah. I still maintain my license, and my dad was a big time ham radio operator, and my brother, my mother, my sister, and everybody's a ham operator in my family. That's what you do. I do it because before the internet, right? Before all this, it was my opportunity when I was at nighttime working a night shift. I put an antenna somewhere nearby, and I would talk for hours on end on the networks and talking to people, you know what I mean? And really, obviously, I really like to do that whole talking thing, but I haven't grown my audience here yet. I'm not consistent. I'm not worried, but when I really do subscribe to the idea that if they like what you're selling, they'll buy more of it, and that's what I'm doing here. But I'm also in a situation where this does not need nor is a driver to become something that is a super financial addition. I'd like to make it and do more so I can meet people, like you said. We can do things and spread the message, so to speak. Provide a voice that might be a little unique to someone, so that maybe they get sparked, or to have people. That's why I like this format. When people come in and drop in on the live stream, it makes it so much easier to go on for the 2 hours and 11 minutes we've been doing this. And I think that each and every opportunity we get on here and we share is an opportunity for someone else to go, maybe it isn't that radical of an idea after all. Maybe I can do something about this.
So would you be okay with me sharing with you how I do my live streams and have success with them?
Well, by all means,
Okay.
but under the caveat that if I don't employ it, you don't get upset.
I don't care if you don't employ it whatsoever. It's up to you completely. But in order to have a successful live stream, for me, for instance, if I'm going to put out something, I'll come up with a researchable title and thumbnail on whatever I'm about ready to talk about. I just hammer that topic out for the first half hour, 45 minutes. I might say hi to like LCV, whoever, Arlene. I might say hi real quick, but I don't focus on this right here. For the first half hour and 45 minutes, I'm just hammering out my talking points, because that gets the return views after the live stream is uploaded. So now if you wanted to make this live stream here more viewable, you would take a screenshot of the both of us on screen and then maybe adjust the title to fit, what the majority of your live stream was about. And then people would just start clicking on it because you're like, oh, hey, Scotty had Big Man Alaska on, or Scotty had so-and-so on. I want to see what these two are talking about, because people find me interesting because they don't know what I'm going to say next. I'm like a loose cannon out here because I talk fast. Some people say they like the way I talk. They like my sense of humor because I have a Gen X sense of humor. I am sarcastic about everything. You can sit there and insult me all day, and I'm going to look at you like, oh, you're adorable. I love you. And even my coworkers that try to make me mad, I just look at them like they're the cutest little kitten, and I start petting their head, and they're like, they just get fumed, and it's great. I mean, it's nice to have that kind of approach with people. because there's really nothing that gets under my skin anymore because we've all done it for so many years. And obesity is just one of those things we're just trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I do know that I've got the time and I have the acumen, and I just need to, if I want to, like you said, to grow it, it would be doing exactly what you said, and being consistent and things of that nature. And I reckon as the appetite increases within me, the desire inside of me increases, then those things don't become insurmountable. They become necessary, right? It's the whole idea of marketing is to take a desire and make it a need, right? That's a whole idea of behind marketing, in as few words as possible. So if we're going to market ourselves, it's going to say, I'm going to take your desire to, hear new things, see these people, have this variety, and make it a need to say, hey, you can't be without this. And I guess I can do that. But the other side of being in this type of format and being in the YouTube universe is when you don't maintain it, your viewers will roll off very quickly. You know what I mean? Because there's so many, like you said earlier, we're not in competition, and that is very true. However, there's only so many. I've heard more times than I can shake a stick at from people who come to my streams. I only have so many hours in a day I can be on the internet. I can only watch so many videos. So I know that's what the thumbnail does. I know that's what the verbiage and the algorithms do. But I also know that I listened to Rush Limbaugh when he was on the radio, right? I don't even listen to that channel anymore because he's not there anymore, right? So you can have personality-driven, I guess I would say customers, clients that are beyond the thumbnail. And those are the ones that will stay with you, and you won't have to do all those goofy thumbnails. But I'm also being a rebel too. I just don't want to put in the work. I realize that.
Well, you just need to make a relatable thumbnail that people can recognize. That is it. If you took a look at some of my recent ones, they're really dumbed down versions of me sitting at my kitchen table with my coffee cup up in the way like this, or I might have something else in the image that's relatable to the topic in one word, maybe one or two words in the thumbnail. And they're as dumbed down as I could get them, because I was trying to figure out how to make, because I looked at, who is it? Dr. Shafee? It's the Tomahawk guy. What's his name?
The what?
The Tomahawk guy. He eats tomahawks. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head.
Dr. Chafee does a lot of shirtless interviews.
But his thumbnails are incredibly dumbed down. So this is where I got the idea. He just literally has himself in the image like this, and then there's a word up here. All right, it works. Okay, that's all you got to do. Just something simple.
Absolutely, I understand the mechanics of it. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm gonna put any effort. I'm gonna read a couple of these comments. So, Laura, about the sat phones for Congress. Don't know. Low cost CBs and ham in El Paso. I know, Arlene, we talked about it. I was raised in El Paso. I was born at White Sands, New Mexico. That's where I was stationed in Albuquerque. So I've got that I-25 corridor pretty down. That's why I did a lot of my ham radio talking. And Laura came back with, "Hey, John, you sound like a New Yorker. Fast talk, hard to offend, laugh." Well, you are from the Northeast, not New York, but you are. Sir.
I was born here in Anchorage, Alaska when I was 2 years old. I was adopted out of Anchorage when I was 2 years old. And at that time, they didn't want to adopt within the state because I am Alaska Native, and the chances of bumping into a relative and having relations with them was pretty high. So they adopted us to families outside of the state. My family was here working with the U.S. Geological Survey, and also enlisted in the United States military, in the Air Force and the Army. So once they moved out of here and they got a place in New Hampshire, my adoption papers went through. I was with the Catholic Social Services, and I went on an airplane all the way over with one of the sisters or one of the nuns, and I was delivered over there. So that's how I became to live on the East Coast. So yes, I did not like it there. Every other, comma, they use cuss words as commas. And it seemed like the people there were just always upset about something. It's like they had to make an excuse to be upset about something. And it just
It's a lifestyle.
They were always yelling. I mean, you're just constantly yelling out the window. Somebody was yelling out the window. People were raising their fists. When I grew up, you had to learn how to fight. I mean, if you didn't know how to fight, you didn't go out of the house. You had to stay home because it just was one of those things. You could go out of the house and then all of a sudden you're in a fight with 3 boys. And sometimes it's girls, they want to fight you too. But it was just a lot of fighting going on. And
a lot of conflict.
We all had to stay in shape. We all had to, we were doing push-ups when we were 7 years old because we didn't know what was going to happen on the schoolyard tomorrow, and learning how to defend ourselves. And a lot of us were studying the martial arts, Taekwondo, boxing, for instance. And it was just, it was an incredible way to grow up, and I enjoyed it, but it was just overcrowded. I mean, this is why I came back to Alaska, and Alaska is overcrowded too now, and it's not getting much better. We got I was looking into the stats up here for homeless population and stuff like that. And I think Anchorage, Alaska is like up in 3,000 something homeless here in this town as of 2024 or 2023. And which is pretty big numbers considering you get some extreme cold temperatures up here.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Well, I tell you that is a challenge. And to read Arlene says about the ham radio, it does. It works on different frequencies, different part of the radio, different bands, and not you have to have a license to speak there, and you have to use a very special formalized methodology of speaking. You can't do certain things, so that makes it a little bit more tough. But with the advent of the cell phone and the internet, a lot of people don't want to go through all that, even though it is still a very robust community. A lot of people still do it. So it's just not as necessary. I remember when I was a kid, my dad would use his ham radio license to, remember when Ma Bell controlled everything and a phone call could cost you a mortgage payment. Well, my dad could get phone calls patched from his, patched through to the local telephone exchange, and we could talk to our grandparents, and we could afford to do it otherwise. So it worked out really well. And then Laura says here, TV advertising was geared to something. Yeah. Well, isn't that really what the newspaper, 3rd grade reading level for a newspaper, for most newspapers? But, John, Arlene's asking how you got started on the carnivore keto.
Okay. Is there a way you can link my channel up here so they can click on it? That way they can go check it out. You don't have to if it's a pain in the butt. But okay, Arlene. Well, like I say, I named my channel Big Man Alaska. I am on YouTube. I've been here for over a year now, but I started all of this weight loss journey with a series of fastings and stuff like that. A 5-day water fast is where I started. Then I moved into 24-hour fasting, intermittent fasting. The first 5-day water fast, I was 435 pounds, and I dropped 30 pounds. Now, after that, I moved on into a series of trying to figure out what I was going to eat. So I started experimenting with keto, and keto quickly became extremely confusing for me. Because a lot of the keto options, if you go in the store and you flip around the package and you look at it, they're loaded with cellulose, potato starch, and a bunch of stuff, and it says keto right on the package. So that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, not from the food, but just looking at the products that were available. So I started looking into other options. And then some of my viewers at the time that were following me mentioned like, hey, you're already doing about 90% carnivore anyways. So why don't you just switch over to carnivore? And that's basically where I came up with, it's kind of along the lines of a ketovore eating principle or a hypercarnivore eating, because at times I will succumb to some fruits, some random vegetables at times, but I try to keep this stuff keto friendly if possible. And here lately, I've been moving more towards 100% carnivore, at least for a period of time, just to see what it does for me, and if it's going to be better. I have a documented weight loss journey of over 41 weeks now. And some of those got a little jumbled up because I had to do my updates and live streams and stuff like that. So there's a couple weeks missing out of those videos, but it's losing weight in Alaska. I just try to keep it real. I try to be sensible with the things I talk about. I try to be relatable because I'm just an average guy. I'm a truck driver here. I live in a mobile home, and whoa, that looks weird. Hey, there's my channel. Cool, man. I was a lot lighter when I took that picture with the sunglasses on. But yeah, I was absolutely enormous for a period of time, and I had to make a lot of changes to the channel to make it, somewhat easier to digest and figure out as well. But yeah, I appreciate you asking that question, Arlene. And so far, carnivore has been working, and I have an eating disorder of eat everything on my plate. So if there's a lot of unhealthy food on my plate, I'm going to eat it. So if I put a lot of meat on my plate, I'm more likely to eat all the meat, which is a healthier option. But I do have to be careful even when eating meat, because the carnivore diet isn't necessarily a weight loss strategy. So in order for me to lose weight, I have to come up with various strategies to lose weight. Occasionally I'll do a sardine fast. I'll add in a lot of eggs. And then I'll also cut back on the dairy, which is something I'm currently doing right now. So I'm just cutting back on the dairy mainly because I found out that too much cheese is slowing the process down. And something I'm also learning is that dairy is fine. It just keeps you kind of leveled out. It just keeps your weight. So if I'm 312 pounds now, let's just say, for instance, I don't know what I weigh today. So if I'm 312 and I just add in my cheese like normal, I'm going to stay right around 5 or 10 pounds of that 312 mark for a long period of time. So carnivore works amazing for maintenance. So what I plan on doing is dropping this weight down below 300 pounds, and then I'm going to start focusing more on maintenance. So just, wish me luck. I'm almost there again. And it was frustrating when I saw the numbers go back up. I screwed up. I shouldn't have quit, smoking and nicotine cold turkey in the middle of a weight loss journey. And then I had to share the experience, which was very humbling, and I learned a lot. So I'll be revisiting the nicotine issue later down the road.
Well, doesn't that then really morph your efforts more from a fat loss program to a health journey, or a healthier journey? I mean, if we're going to be working on like when I've read when Michelangelo looked at a piece of marble, right, a piece of stone, he could see what he wanted in the stone, and his job was to remove what didn't need to be there. So, but the process of this art through subtraction, right? Well, words matter. The words, the ways we couch things and say things and do things, they do matter. I have a real strong penchant for putting myself down and using negative speak. So I'm aware of this. So what we end up needing to do, all of us in some form, fashion, or another, is reevaluate and re-look at everything we're doing through the lenses of the terms we're using. So we understand what started out as a weight loss journey has been more identified as a fat loss. I don't care what I weigh. I care how my pants fit. I care what my blood work is like. I care what my CAC score and what my other diagnostic scores are, right? I care about my energy levels. I care about functional medicine things, right? Hey, how you doing there? Good to see you, boss. Good morning from South Africa. Yeah, we got South Africa to Alaska covered. There we go. But as we go through the journey, and as you meet goals, and before you even meet your goal, you start reassessing and looking what your next goal is, because it's an iterative, ongoing thing. A weight loss became fat loss, becomes a health journey, becomes a strength and conditioning and flexibility thing, so that when we're 75 years old, we're not incapable of picking something up off the floor. And when we're 85 years old, we're not in a nursing home or something like that. I mean, these are becoming my goals as a 60-plus-year-old guy. And I'm dealing with my father, who's 89, and up to 4 years ago, he was still walking 7 miles a day, and on a weekend chipping cement or pouring cement in the hot El Paso, Texas summer sun, right? To reach that goal of what I call functional health
in longevity, it means I got to stop all this crazy crud I've been doing for the last 25 years. I mean, so bad when I was in the military and we had donut days, I'm eating everything I possibly could get into my face, right? I'm eating donut, but I'm maintaining my weight and everything because I was mad like crazy exercising in the gym and doing military stuff, right? Couple of injuries, same lifestyle of eating, owning an ice cream store, becoming sedentary. Guess what? Body doesn't work. And we all know as you get older, your body responds differently to the very same thing. So I just think that, hey, Grateful Keto, glad to see you. Okay, enjoyed. We got to go. All right, appreciate you. But anyway, kind of that's a summation of the journey.
Now, I do want to give a quick shout out to Carnivore Transformer. I am subscribed to this gentleman's channel. He's from another country, which I find his content rather interesting because he speaks with a different accent. And he also provides, different types of meals that I'm not particularly seeing all the time online. I do like it when he makes short videos and he actually talks because he kind of explains what's going on and stuff. And that is interesting to me. And I just wanted to say hi, and I'm thankful you showed up here to the stream. I am going to have to bail out of here real soon and get dinner started because I'm all this talk about eating meat and fat and just the stuff we've been down, the road we've gone down. I'm hungry. I got some steaks I need to cook up. They're left over. I did do a short video last night. I did 3 shorts. 2 of them are basically regurgitated from a previous video, my most recent video. So I tend to make those into shorts if I can, about 2 per week, and I kind of slacked off. And then I made a random video about trying to clean the ceramic cast iron skillet I have. And that was just a funny video because it was an epic failure. I didn't do it right. So spoiler alert if you didn't watch it, but it's out there. It was just all in good fun and good faith. And that's what it's all about here on the internet. It's not about being 100% serious until you start talking about how to help people to try and get them in a better way. But all right, Scotty, I am going to have to bail out here. And I do appreciate you bringing me on these streams whenever possible. And I'm light here. No, Scotty, for instance, he is the first one that introduced me to live streams. I was on his live stream. He is the one that popped my cherry of getting on live streams. And then I went and started doing my own live streams and realized that I'm doing okay. I'm pretty good. I'm making decent money with each live stream. So he's got me into that. There is a new feature out. It's called vertical live streams. And that puts us out to a lot more people a lot faster. So Scotty, I don't know if you have that unlocked yet, because I don't think it's unlocked for everybody. My wife can do it, but it puts her in another category of live streams, which is a lot of people playing games and just basically turning their camera on and pointing it at the floor and just letting the camera run. So it doesn't really circulate her videos like I was hoping. But for me,
vertical stack, am I going to have to do Google and look in this?
Well, I don't know if it's unlocked until you get to 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours, because it's something that they actually contacted me and said it's an option to do. I need to try it. So I tried my first one, and I think that live stream got like 4,000 views in like 2 hours. It was crazy, but we also have to figure out how the mathematics work.
Okay, that's in YouTube though. That's not in StreamYard. That's a YouTube.
No, that is straight off the YouTube platform,
okay,
off your phone, and it's so we can actually just randomly do live streams as we go. But it pops us up. What it does is it pops us up in the Tumblr for the shorts feeds. So as people are just doing their scrolling, they might stop on you, and if you're talking about something interesting that goes on, and they just tend to watch it for 60 seconds to a couple minutes, and that creates a view. And then they have the option of jumping in the stream to hit the watch button and stuff like that. It's a really amazing option to get me out in front of more people and connect with more people. And some of the videos, that gained me about 1,000 extra subscribers with just 1 hour and a half, 2 hour live stream.
Well, see, I'm 104 subscribers away from hitting the initial subscriber number, I believe, and I only got about 1,200 watch hours in. So it'd be a while before I have that feature unlocked.
But again, I'm going to go back to just hitting these live streams real hard, and then maybe doing a couple of videos and just slog through. Because again, I am not positive that I can monetize anyway because of a faux pas a couple of decades ago. But we'll have to wait to see. But I appreciate you taking the time. I know I've seen the girls go back and forth, and I know you're a family man. You got things you have to do, and sitting here is a trade-off. Because if I've learned one thing in life, John, I'm sure you have too, is when you say yes to one thing, means you're saying no to something else, right?
Mhm.
And you said yes to come live, and you really gave a lot of impetus for me to continue on for this, and I really appreciate that. And I've always appreciated your candor and your willingness to come on and put your game face on, like Bill said before. He didn't have his game face to come on, but I do appreciate you coming on tonight.
Well, the beautiful part of this is that since I started doing carnivore, and I got more camera time and experience and stuff like that, there's really not a whole lot to it. I'm not an actor. I don't get paid to do this type of stuff. This is just me as a person. So if you were sitting across from the kitchen table, this is the conversation we'd have every day. And this is also the type of approach that I put into my videos as well, because I want the person on the other end of the camera to be able to sit down at the table with me as I talk. I try to be natural and empathetic as possible, which isn't fake. This is who I am. I'm a natural empath. So when I see these comments of people telling me how bad they're suffering, I feel a piece of that. Like I said, me and Bill Knott have had email conversations, and I feel what he's going through. I understand some of the stuff that's going on up there, because we all have lives, and everything's slightly different on the other side of the screen at times, and we have our own struggles too, and it's just impossible to share it all. And I do try to be an open book to anybody that wants to know anything about what's going on with me. I'm not going to share in-depth personal details as to what's going on in my family life, but as far as my health is concerned and certain little things like that, I do try to be open and honest, because people need to understand, you're going to poop different at times, and that's just part of it. You're going to feel different ways, and that's also part of it. And there's an emotional aspect to all of weight loss. There's a lot of learning involved, and I focus a lot on the mind. Because if I can't change my mind about what I'm doing, then I'm going to go back to doing what I used to do. Just like the TV dinner you talked about earlier, it's the easiest way to make your dinner is pop it in the microwave. It's not healthy, but it's the easiest way. And we tend to not prepare our food. And if we don't prepare our food, we're not going to prepare our lives to live a better life. And with that said, Scotty, I'm going to have to bail out here. I'm going to go cook some steaks right now. I got some amazing steaks we had last night, and I've been eating them for the last 3 days. We need to get some more burger in the house, but I need a paycheck for that. But all right, I just want to wave bye to everybody, and I want everybody to take care. And thank you again, Scotty. I'll see you again.
All right, brother. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Bye. All righty. With that, I think I'll use an opportunity to sign off as well for each and every one of us, and I'm going to let John work his way out of there, and I'll let you all get your lives and do the things you're doing, and then go to the channels and visit some of the other people out there who are doing the very same thing. Again, as John said, I really do appreciate your spending time here with us this evening. I know there's other places you could be at, and other things you could be doing. And Laura, as far as like I said about doing a live of woodworking or other crafts, I've thought of that, but part of the challenge is I'd have to have the bandwidth. I don't know if I could do a live where I'm at. I've been trying to figure a way to get better connectivity in my workshop, but we'll figure something out. It's not a problem. I am not going to be driven to chase content and followers and likes and stuff like that. It's great. I don't get me wrong, but it's just not something I'm going to spend that time doing. I don't think. I pray to start carnivore. I need God. Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that earlier, Arlene. That That's all. Okay, question. Is this a new channel? I see a new name there. Oh, no, it's not a new channel. It's the same channel. All I did was I added onto the bottom, I added the Common Sense Carnivore type thing. That's it to freshen it up, but it's still Carnivore Scott. And if that's what you get notifications from that I'm on, that's what you'll see. So no, not a new channel at all. Same bat channel, just doing things some different. All right. Hey, Laura, thank you for hanging in there. Arlene, thank you for hanging in there. I know Lisa was in there for a while. We had a few other people. Really appreciate it. I trust that you all will have a wonderful conclusion to your day, and that you are preparing yourself for the wonder that tomorrow is, the miracle that tomorrow is going to be in each of our lives. Take care now, okay? God bless. Bye-bye.